Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This is the June 26th meeting of the East Fishkill Town Board. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Before we begin tonight, I have a couple of announcements. First, some thoughts were raised at our workshop meeting about our lime kiln gym facility and the cost to the town. I just want to let everybody know, I did receive a couple of letters from people that use our facility. Very happy with the gym facility, understanding it does cost the town approximately $60,000 a year. Obviously, it's a facility that people like, and we'll be looking forward to ways to save money there. But there's a lot of support, I believe, in the community for the gym and also for Lime Kiln as a whole. I know some soccer people were just at Lime Kiln yesterday, and they didn't realize how beautiful it was there. Also, we're going to have Julie's Jungle there. So while I understand there's concerns with how much it may be costing the town, I do think it's an investment, and I think that down the road, I think it's going to pay off. It's a beautiful facility, but I did want to let everybody know that I did receive a couple letters in that regard. Second, I'd also like to talk a little bit. We've been working for the past few months. We had actually established a few months ago what we call an economic development, priority economic redevelopment zone. That was the word I was looking for. Obviously, there's some concerns with what's going on in the economy. That being said, we're working very hardly that whatever changes may come. Obviously, IBM, there's a lot of things happening with IBM that only IBM knows what's going to be in their future in the town of East Fishkill. So we've been working very diligently over the last few weeks, and we actually have on the agenda under receipt and file the proposed permitted uses for industrial sites and refer that document to Dutchess County. But we've been working on the best way to expand the uses that are allowed in an I-zone, especially in this priority redevelopment economic zone, which is zoned I-1. And the best process for allowing new businesses to come in. What we don't want to do is be an impediment to new businesses. We have some issues at the IBM complex. There's 50% vacancy there. If there's anything the town of East Fishkill can do to help fill those vacancies for whatever happens down the road, we've been working on a process. And Tom, I'd ask you a little bit, if you talk a little bit about where we are as far as we did the expanded permitted uses, and we're considering right now the town board would actually be the agency we would assign a special permit. And just if you can give the board a little background on that.
Sure. This economic redevelopment special permit that the board's receiving and filing today is just, as the supervisor said, we broaden the permitted uses at the site. It would be a special permit of the town board, so the town board would choose to grant it for a particular use. It's going to allow certain flexibility. When you have a site that's already been developed and the buildings are already in place, in these days in reuses, many companies like to own the buildings, but they don't. The site itself may not lend itself to divide off a lot. So what the tool that's used is that you actually allow the building to be separately owned on a parcel that may be no more than 10 or 20 feet bigger than the building. But then through a series of agreements, the common areas, the parking, the street lights, the roadways, etc., are all shared by all the users on the site, much like a condominium works, except it would be with the building. So this is a tool that many other communities that have facilities that had to be put to new uses have been adopting, and it does it just allows more flexibility to that, and yet it has a threshold that, you know, the entire site already had went through some prior environmental reviews. There were traffic thresholds that were established, and all of these tools are utilized rather quickly within the confines of the thresholds that had previously been set. So if you have a use that, if you get to a point where you've used or allocated all of the existing parking spots and you had to increase the parking, that would require a more detailed review and environmental assessment. But as long as the number of spaces that are there that are approved are still used, sufficient for the uses, then the process is shortened and the new use can be established a little more quickly. So that's the tool that we're trying to create for any industrial site that's already previously been approved. This would not apply to vacant land that's in an industrial zone. That would still be go through the regular process of a site plan, et cetera.
Thank you, Tom. And what this will do, it'll give the town board a tool to allow things to happen more quickly on that site. So, you know, we have to be trying to be a little bit ahead of this and see what we can do. So the board has all gotten a copy of that tonight. Carol, will we be forwarding that up to Dutchess County Planning for their review also?
Yes, for their comments, yes.
Okay. So I just want to let the board know about that, and that's under receipt and file. The third thing, my last announcement under supervisor's announcements, we're going to close brush drop-off on July 19th. Yes, everybody's been asking when brush drop-off is going to be closing. We're watching the use over there, and it's going to be getting hot. So we're probably going to be closing it, well, we will be closing on July 19th, and we will be opening it in the fall for a fall cleanup. So I just wanted to make that announcement. So that being said, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Councilperson Cassidy?
Present.
Councilperson D'Alessandro?
Present.
Councilperson Franco?
Present.
Councilperson Marinaro?
Present.
Supervisor Hickman?
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have the minutes of the May 22nd, 2014 meeting. Madam Clerk, have you received any comments, additions, or changes
No, I have
to
not.
that? As you have not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes for May 27th, 2014 Town Board meeting as provided?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. The two items under receipt and file tonight are notice of public information meeting and eminent domain public hearing for Beekman Road improvements. This is the first one. Some years ago, I went to a meeting. Dutchess County owns Beekman Road. Beekman Road is a county road.
Yes.
Dutchess County would like to fix Beekman Road. Beekman Road has got a lot of twists and turns and elevation changes. I went to a meeting, probably 7 years ago with Dutchess County, and they showed the proposal of how they were going to change Beekman Road. It's ambitious, but they never went anywhere. I don't think they got their federal funding. It does appear that they must have gotten some funding recently because we got a notice from Dutchess County they're going to be holding an information meeting, and they also say eminent domain public hearing. This is a Dutchess County project, and it's called Beekman Road Improvements, Towns of East Fishkill and Beekman, Dutchess County. Notice of public hearing, eminent domain public hearing. What is going to happen, and I have to go to this, I will be to this public hearing. The public hearing will be held. The information meeting will be at 6:30 p.m. July 15th at St. Denis Church on Beekman Road. Then the public hearing will immediately follow at 7:30 p.m. and Dutchess County reps will be there and a consultant team prior to the meetings from 6 to 6:30. So basically, if you're there 6 o'clock, you can talk to the professionals and things of that nature. So I'll be going, and obviously all the members of my board are invited to go. The public is invited to go, especially if you live on Beekman Road. I don't know much about the project, just what I had heard some years ago. But what I do know is that they want to straighten it a bit, and I know that they don't have enough room in their right-of-way to do the work. So what they're going to be looking at is, as they say in the document, working with the public to take some of their property if need be and pay them market value. So this is a county project. It will be there at St. Denis Church in July. I'll be attending. And if anybody else would like to be there, I think that'd be a wonderful thing. So.
Can I ask, how does that, they do the public hearing that night, and they take the comments from the public. When does that gets voted on the legislature? The legislature votes on that?
Yes, it would have to be a county action. Yeah.
At some point.
Okay.
I don't think it would be this. This is really the public hearing, and I would imagine, and Tom, maybe you can answer this, as like DOT projects, They're still doing design work, they're still doing the layout, and they're seeing what properties they're going to need, what they're going to be taking.
Well, there's a whole process when you use federal funds to do a road project, and the federal law requires these informational meetings to let the public have input, and also to make the initial contact about the possible acquisition. And
Right.
so then we'll go through a process where they have to make an offer to the property owners, go through it, and then ultimately, if someone doesn't agree, then the county legislature can, proceed and take the property and battle out the value at a later date.
Okay. Russ, this is going to be the,
This actually first came around about 25 years ago,
oh, really?
when they first started this.
No kidding?
Yeah.
I remember going to one, and I believe the last meeting I went to was at St. Dennis Church also. So we'll see what happens, and I'm sure we'll have representatives from our county legislators there also. So, all right, and that is just to reiterate, that is on July 15th, and if you're there at 6 o'clock at St. Dennis Church, you can actually start looking, reviewing it, and talking to their consultants in person. So, second, on receipt and file the proposed permitted use for industrial sites. Refer this to Dutchess County, as I just said. Economic redevelopment special permit. We have the definitions, and it does give us a lot of flexibility of what can be allowed and how things can be redeveloped in an I zone. So I think it's very important. And if the board has any comments or anything, obviously this is something that we want more input on, and just to make it a better document. So please let me know. All right, that being said, that's under receipt and file. Public hearings, we have no public hearings tonight, Madam Clerk.
No, we do
No
not.
public hearings tonight. Okay, is there any public comments on agenda items only? Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any items on the agenda?
Can I just make a couple announcements?
Absolutely, Bill, come on up. Are you going to announce the 4th of July?
July 4th.
July 4th?
4th of July, July 4th.
Our annual 4th of July fireworks show
I
and
know.
concert is on July 4th this year. We've had on the 3rd, the 5th,
on
today's it's on the 4th. Concert at 7, and the fireworks exactly 9:15. It's not like the carnivals. 9:15 they will go off.
Really? Oh, good.
Also, we have our Friday night concerts have started, and tomorrow night is Johnny Dell, and Johnny Dell's concert, thanks to Mike and Channel 22, will be on television.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And for people watching, we'll have a concert every Friday night, and we have 3 at Red Wing. The first at Red Wing will be July 6th. So July 4th weekend, we have 2 concerts and no rain.
And no rain.
Finally, we do have this year, for the first time, we're having a fishing camp at Red Wing. And it's been slow sign-ups, but it's July 14 to 18 from 6 to 8. It's for children, I believe, 7 to 12 years old. And they'll learn how to fish, bait the hooks, cast, and they'll have 5 nights of fishing. So that and our basketball camp and our tennis and our golf and our swimming, we still have openings, so this is a public announcement. See us in recreation, there's still room. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Bill, appreciate it. Bill, you do a wonderful job, and I appreciate it. So, thank you.
Who's leaving?
I know, I guess that must have been under authorized.
Must be something on TV tonight.
Oh, must be a game. That must have been under authorized a part-time employee for Red Wing, that's all I can figure, so. All righty, anybody else have any public comments on agenda items only? All right, there being none, we'll start the resolutions. Before we do get started, see Mr. Lead is in the audience. Tim, I know, and Tom, have you gotten any correspondence from Mr. Lead's attorney on the
Yes.
house in Wickby, the unsafe
Yes.
dwelling?
And they're proceeding with the insurance carrier. They've had some discussions with them
Yeah.
at depositions. We adjourned the court case through the 23rd of July, I think it was.
Okay. And Mr. Lee, would you just come up really quick to the podium, just really quick? And I bring this up at this meeting because we had all met a couple months ago about the unsafe building in Wickby.
Right.
And the chimney did collapse. Tim, you've been looking at it, you've been checking it regularly,
Yeah,
correct?
I'm out at the property 2 or 3, sometimes 7 times a day, just to keep an eye on it, make sure nobody's getting in there. Also looking at the building with an eye to make sure there's no changes in the structure,
Okay.
because I told you I would let you know as soon as I saw any changes.
And I know that we spoke yesterday, you and your attorney are still working.
Yes, we're
with the
working to
insurance
try to
company
get a
come to
resolution.
resolution.
Right,
So-
from the,
And we should point out that the most concerning aspect of it, the chimney, collapsed and folded into
Yeah.
the property and did not come out on, so
Yeah.
the heightened risk has dropped significantly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So if the board is okay, I'd like to give Mr. Leeds further time as per his attorney's request to resolve this issue. I'm comfortable with the fact that he's checking the premises, and we'll see, hopefully the insurance company will come to some resolution on this issue. So if the board's okay with that, I'd like to give him a little extra time. Sure.
Hey, John,
Okay.
before you do that, can you take some public comment on that?
On that, well, you can,
On that issue?
it's not on the agenda, but certainly if you'd like to get up and speak
Well,
on that, if I just,
You know, if the town is going to accept liability in case anything happens, I mean, you know, if you accept that, you're accepting liability, right?
I don't know if we're
And there was
accepting
nobody
liability,
there.
we're,
Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
You know, whatever can be done to help him, that's great.
Right.
So long as it's not going to cost me or anybody else, if anybody gets hurt.
okay.
I mean, the chimney went down, like you just said. Luckily, it went one way and not the other. Are you willing to accept responsibility for
I think
that?
we're accepting there's a calculated risk here that I feel comfortable with myself. And the board okay with this? Okay with that, Manny? Well, what happened, and Tom, I would just like to ask, what would happen if we decide to move ahead with the demolition proceeding?
Well, first of all, I just want to be clear that the town not automatically is responsible or would have liability.
Okay.
There would be a whole question of facts as to what occurred. Obviously, everybody goes against the town because the town is, quote, the deep pocket.
Yeah.
And the courts have expanded liability. But in this case, the town board's exercising its police function to enforce a law, which is that structure should be sound. So I'm not saying that the town would have no liability,
Yeah.
but obviously the town board's action does not increase whatever liability we'd already have.
And I think on the other hand, it's not that we're ignoring a threat either.
Correct.
I think we've taken
We're
steps.
actively pursuing it.
Exactly, so I feel comfortable with it, so if the
Well,
board
we still got the thing that if we really think it's got to it's got to go that day.
Now, what would
Did
be
we
the
put
process, Tom? If
Did
the
we do
next-
something like that
The
last month?
the next town board meeting, we decided it's not going anywhere.
Then we would get a contract to go in, demolish it, clean it out, and back bill it on the tax roll.
We would go right into condemnation of or demolition.
Right.
Okay, very good. Okay? You good? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Lead, I appreciate your work, and you will stay in touch, as I know your attorney will stay in touch also. Okay, thank you. All right, first resolution on the first item under resolutions. Councilman Franco, would you read this one?
Sure. Whereas a seasonal recreation assistant...
Oh, and I would just point out that we had
I
that
did it already.
discussion. Great,
Got
thank
it.
you very
Took
much.
care of it. You're welcome. Whereas a seasonal recreation assistant is needed at Red Wing Park, and whereas the recreation director has requested that the town board appoint Lauren Chaccio as a seasonal recreation assistant, and now therefore be it resolved that Lauren Chaccio be and hereby is appointed as seasonal recreation assistant to work the June through August 2014 season with a salary of $10 an hour. And be it further resolved that said employment shall be seasonal employment, and that upon completion of her task, she shall be removed from the payroll unless further ordered by the town board.
Great, thank you. We've interviewed this applicant. Do I have a motion to appoint seasonal recreation assistant, be Lauren Chaccio?
John, I have a question.
Sure.
Is it possible to remove the last, unless further ordered by the town board?
Oh, absolutely. You just want to make sure this is seasonal and it's going to end at that
Correct.
date.
That's the
To
intention
work
of
the
the
June to
town.
August season, so the council would like it to end, I would say, end of last day of August?
Yeah, just as the August 2014,
Okay, so
whatever the
there would
day is,
be-
that they...
Okay, I have no problem with that. That means that we cannot extend her stay. But she's indicated she's going to be...
She'll be back to school by September 1st.
Exactly, so I have no problem with that. So we have modified the resolution to say that the seasonal recreation assistant to to work the June through August, understanding August would be till the last day of August 2014 season, the salary of $10 per hour. So.
Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the amended the resolution as amended?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Supervisor, I just want to disclose to the board that this young lady previously was employed by me.
Oh, great. Thank you very much, Councilman D'Alessandro. Appreciate that. All right, I have a motion and a second to to approve the amended resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstention. Madam Clerk, you make that note. Thank you very much. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, number 2 is to authorize the hiring of extra counselors. Unfortunately, Recreation Director Bill Green has just left, I guess, to watch, is there a sports game on tonight, basketball something like that?
I have no idea.
He ran out of here. So.
Basketball's over.
Anyway, authorizing the hiring of additional camp counselors. What had happened is last registration date for summer camp here is June 27th, and our concern is we're going to get a large influx at that registration, and if that happens, we're going to have to hire additional camp counselors. Now, if that was to be the case, and obviously I've asked Bill Green to contact the town board, email the town board. We do have other counselors that have applied for the job. They've all been vetted. So it's just that we would be bringing up one of those that had already been reviewed. Again, it would be seasonal employment, completion of their task. They would be removed from the payroll unless further ordered by the town board. In the spirit of what we just done, we could even strike that unless further ordered by the town board. All right. Is everybody comfortable with that understanding of the situation that may arise with the last registration date? And the thing that with camp starting rather soon after that, we wouldn't have time for the next town board meeting to make any adjustments. So.
Is there an actual number? How many more do we need, or?
No, it would be just really based on, they have a certain amount of kids that they have per counselor, and if they were to have a certain number more, they would hire one more counselor. If they have, a huge number increased upon that, they would also hire, that many counselors. I don't foresee it. I think that this is just trying to be cautious in case we do have a large turnout last one.
And they'll let us know.
And
They'll notify us.
And Bill will notify us. I've asked Bill to email the town board as to the need, and I will actually tell him also notify us of no need to hire additional, so there's really no question. Do I have a motion to authorize the rec director to hire the additional camp counselors if the need be arises after the June 27th late registration date?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 3, authorize attendance to New York State Relief Conference. Peter, would you read this one for me?
Sure.
Councilman Cassidy.
Whereas Lori Brengelman has sent a request to the town board asking to attend the 22nd Annual New York State Relief Conference in Hempstead, New York, to be held July 17th, 2014 through July 19th, 2014. Now therefore be it further resolved that the details of such conference are attached hereto, and the expenses to the town will be tuition and lodging, and be it further resolved that Lori Brengelman is hereby authorized to attend the 22nd Annual New York State Relief Conference in Hempstead, New York, from July 17th to July 19th, 2014.
Thank you, Councilman. Lori obviously is our, we call Lori our beautification worker. Lori does an excellent job working for the town, and she is very much interested in staying up on the latest. She believes, and as we all are, a big believer in education. And when a program comes out that she thinks would help her in what she does for the town, she would like to attend. She does a lot of our tree planting. She does our Arbor Day ceremony. She sometimes does plantings for the town in other areas. So I think this is certainly warranted. So do I have a motion to authorize Lori Brangelman to attend the conference? I believe the cost is
If I may, I'm sorry.
What I was going to do was do a motion and a second, then I was going to ask. But if you'd like to have the discussion now, sure.
I think that this is a busy time of the year for her in
yeah.
our town. I know that she's backed up in planting, and I would see this happen at a time when really it's not the spring, but maybe in the fall or in the winter, it would be more favorable. This is the only person that does take care of the stuff. I know it's only a couple of days, but I'm really not in favor of taking time off at this time. It's just like we're giving time off to somebody at a busy time, and
Okay.
it's probably not, I don't know how the rest of the board feels about this, but I would rather that she goes to some of the seminars that are maybe in the winter. I'm sure there is others.
I don't know
I
if
don't
there
know.
is, but I remember there was a couple of years ago, somebody went to something, but it was much more expensive than this. This is
I am not talking about,
inexpensive.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the expense, Nick. It's just the wrong time. I've had some calls from some constituents. They said that she's scheduling her planting at a later time because she's backed up. And if that's the case, I don't think she should be allowed to take this time off. The point is the timing, not the money. Peter, how do you feel about that?
If you will, Council President, hold the board.
Okay,
Okay, my job.
all right, no problem. Sorry.
Now, one thing I would like to respond to with Councilman D'Alessandro, I know you had an issue about, just a question. The cost of $200 obviously is, she's already had this budgeted in her beautification budgets. That's not an issue. I do agree. I think that it is a very reasonable cost. So what is the board's thoughts about the timing issue?
I don't think this is when the conference is offered.
I mean, that's something that we have no control over. I believe it, and I don't know who gives relief. I believe it might be DEC or some agency. We have no control over when these conferences are given. I would agree with you there. I think, my opinion,
I think,
I support her going.
I think, I don't know what her
excellent job.
schedule is,
Yeah.
but I believe she's on a 40-hour week, so if she's not there, she'd be somewhere, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Does she work Saturday through Sunday? I don't know what her schedule is.
No, she works Monday through Friday. And then sometimes she asks for overtime. She did the Arbor Day, that was an overtime. And sometimes she did the plantings and the barrels, that's overtime. Lori's a very hard worker. She's very dedicated to her job. And I understand the feeling about the timing of it, which is unfortunate. I know we just had some of those, we just had some of our people go to a turf conference, and it was our 3 members of our rec staff, and they went, and that was, I believe, a day or 2. I forget what that was.
Right, that was actually a busy time as well,
That was a
because
busy
I know
time, so-
we fielded a lot of questions about the fields and the upgrade.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I even looked at the conference program on Friday, the 18th. I think there is a presentation. It's mostly about something that happens in the city rather than in the suburbs. Outdoor
May I ask the
demonstration
town
of
board
noise
if I may make a comment on this issue?
We'll get right to you in just a minute, Mr. Damaso.
You know, outdoor demonstration of noise reductions and knowledge and,
I mean,
Basic plan list, which...
in urban settings. I mean, I think we're not not in New York City. Again, I mean, my concern is only the timing that she's
Yep.
taking off.
I think we can, and I think we understand your concern. I think it's unfortunate, but Lori is very dedicated to the town and to what she does. And I know Lori's mindset is she only wants to do what she does better. So if Lori thinks this is something that she should attend, I support her 100%. And I think we all understand the timing issues. And Mr. Damaso, I'll be with you just one quick minute. Councilman, thoughts?
I don't have a problem with it, really, we're going.
Okay. Councilman?
I got no problem.
All righty. Mr. Damaso, you want to say?
Yes, sir. No mistake about it. I'm certain that Lori is an extremely dedicated and hardworking individual. If I may just bring up some of the past, Hillside Lake was promised back at a November meeting of some remediation in a particular town-owned property at the approach to Hillside Lake, and that only got addressed yesterday. It's my understanding that Lori has asked for help in what she does on a daily basis, and I personally have no problem with that. And maybe if she needs help, and if that help were available in her absence to take over her daily chores in her absence, then that would be fine. And as Councilman Marinaro had indicated, this particular workshop or whatever, this educational or training class is in fact for urban tree planting. And if I'm not mistaken, excuse me, if I'm not mistaken, today was the deadline for registration, and then we would encounter a $25 late fee if that deadline was not met by today.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if we're just going through the motions of a resolution and the registration has already been facilitated, or we're going to pay the $25 late fee. That's neither here nor there. But in Lori's absence, we still would like attention to the promised planting from back in November. And here we are at the end of June. You know, I thought maybe we would get some fall raking under the guise of beautifying that particular small piece of property.
You serious?
Yeah, I am serious. We're at the end of June.
She's not planting? She told me...
She put mulch down, and there's 3 planters, that happened yesterday.
Okay.
From November, promise. Okay.
Oh, wait a sec. Excuse me. Yes, I understand. And we discussed it with her. I asked how it was going out there, and she said the soil is going to take some work because the soil is rather hard there. We'll take it's going to be a process. I don't believe she's just going to go and plant.
If I may interrupt you, please. If I may interrupt you, if I just may interrupt you on that note, when were the soil samples taken? I mean, come on. We had mulch put down yesterday, and somebody worked very strenuously, I'm sure, to remove 2 or 3 juniper plants. But here we are at the end of June.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's just getting addressed now. Well, I see, you know, some of the businesses have these really nice planters all along the hamlet and everything else. And if Lori needs help in her absence, then that's what should be facilitated.
Your point is Lori should be allowed to go? I'm asking. I'm not sure where you
I have no problem with her going.
Okay, thank you.
But my point, no, you asked what my point is. My point is that Lori is a very busy person.
Yes, she is.
Okay? So maybe she shouldn't go because she's that busy if it takes all the way till the end of June to get a November promise partially completed. That's my point.
It would have been a difficult winter to do a November promise.
I'm sorry?
It would have been a difficult winter to do a November
I'm
promise.
not, John, don't put words in my mouth.
Well, no, you're saying
I'm not
since
implying that it
November.
should have been done in November, December, January, or February.
Right.
Okay? Let's face it, spring is when plants spring. That's my point.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any other discussion from the board? All right, do I have a motion to authorize Lori Brangelman to attend the conference?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you very much. Okay, resolution number 4 is to authorize the police officers' attendance to FEMA training. Whereas Lieutenant Keefe indicated his desire to send 1 police officer to attend a multi-hazard emergency training for schools course offered at the Federal Emergency Management Administration's Emergency Management Institute in Maryland from July 28th through July 31st. Tuition, lodging, and transportation costs will be paid for by FEMA. Meals will be covered by the Wapner Central School District. And they have a resolution that the town board hereby authorize 1 officer to attend this this course. Do I have a motion? And what I would just like to ask, excuse me 1 second. Lieutenant Keefe, who do we be sending to this? If you please step up. Lieutenant Keefe is here with us.
We're sending Eric Vaughn, the school resource officer. School's out of session, and this is actually an invitation from the Governor's School Safety Improvement Board. And we're very honored that they picked us to go along with the school district, so.
Okay, very good. And it would be Eric Vaughn would be the officer attending the program. Do I have a motion to authorize, oh, I'm sorry, did you want to say something? Was that Marty?
Oh,
Has it been answered?
Mr. We ran out again.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, do I have a motion to authorize Eric Vaughn to attend the FEMA training program?
So,
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. Resolution number 5 is to adopt a policy restricting the acceptance of town roads to April 1 through October 1st only. Whereas following approval by the planning board, the property owner can file an approved subdivision map with the county clerk that is under their control within the maximum time period to construct any public roads within the subdivision. Following completion of the proposed road, the developer offers it for dedication. The road is then placed on the town board agenda for consideration and acceptance. It is appropriate that the town not accept roads from the period of November 1st through March 31st, inasmuch this is the winter season, all of the town preparations for removal of snow have been made and put in place prior to October 1st. So I'm asking the board to approve a policy that no road will be accepted as a public highway from the period of October 1st through March 31st, and that any developer offering a road during that time period will have to continue to maintain that road in the proper condition for winter until the acceptance period. And this policy should now become an official note on all subdivision plats approved by the planning board, and that the chairperson of the planning board shall not sign a final subdivision map unless this note is contained therein. And what has happened, we've seen this in the past, we'll do our awarding our snowplow bids, and we'll do all that, we'll do already, and at the last minute, some developers rushing because November, December, they don't want to plow the roads, they want to turn them over to the town. It creates kind of a problem. So this actually comes from the highway superintendent from request from him. So do I have a motion to establish this policy on the acceptance of town roads?
So, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Highway Superintendent, owes you all a cup of coffee. You'll be very happy. Number 6, authorize the disposition of a surplus police vehicle. Councilman Marinero, would you read this?
Whereas the town board was provided with a listing of a vehicle which has been deemed to be of no further use to the town and thus should be considered surplus. And whereas the town board has reviewed said list and concurs, now therefore be resolved that the vehicle listed on the annexed list be and hereby is declared to be a surplus vehicle and is to be disposed of by the town. And be further resolved that the town supervisor be and hereby is authorized to dispose of said vehicle by participating in an auction process held by Absolute Auction and Realty without cost to the town. And be it further resolved that the sale of said vehicle should be further approved by the town board.
Thank you. And the vehicle, the surplus vehicle to be auctioned off is a 2009 Crown Victoria. Do I have a motion to authorize that vehicle surplus and authorize the auction of same? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Councilman D'Alessandro, would you read the next resolution, please?
Sure. Whereas the Revere Park Water District was previously established and purchased a private water system servicing the needs of the residents of said district. And in recent times, the Board of Health is requiring additional improvements, including connecting to a new source of water for the residents. And the town has applied and been granted approval for a low-interest loan from the Environmental Services Corporation, commonly known as a revolving fund. And it is necessary to begin the process to obtain these funds. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town engineer be and hereby is authorized to prepare plan and report with respect to proposed water system improvements in the Revere Park Water District, as required by the Department of Health, and that upon completion of said plan and report, he shall submit the same to this board for further proceedings.
Thank you, Councilman. Attached to this, we have a town engineer's memo. It's a famous town engineer's memo, or is it the famous town, is it town engineer's famous memo? Scott, would you go over this a little bit? Let's go over the Revere Park issue. I think we actually have a little bit of a controversy with this. This is a Guidi issue with our one well out there.
It's potentially a Guidi issue, yeah. It's been going on, for some years. There's 2 wells at Revere Park. Currently, we're only using 1 well. The second well is very high in iron and manganese, which is also an issue.
Scott, would you pull the microphone a little closer to you?
Yeah.
Or take Mark's, he's not using it.
Okay.
We don't have any budget transfers tonight.
So I'll just start over. We have 2 wells at Revere Park. Currently, we're only using 1 well, as the second well is very high in iron and manganese. Some years ago, the wells were tested in combination to see whether or not they might be Guidi, which is groundwater influence, and that test had came back for a potential Guidi. The test only tells you that whether or not there's a possibility of it, not that it's actually occurring. So with that, a number of years went by. We were trying to connect to Breadview and Fishkill Plains. We actually put a pipe in a few years ago for an emergency connection.
And we have, how far distance between
5
the pipe?
feet.
How feet?
5 feet.
So we have 5 feet connection?
We have a 5 feet
Okay.
gap. And at the time, Board of Health said if it ever became an emergency, an issue, we could go ahead and make that connection. So we moved forward under that premise. So in recent discussions with Board of Health, they revisited it. They're at this point not going to allow us to hook up to Breadview and Fishkill Plains. Putting a filter in really is not an option. There's no place to put the backwash. We'd have to expand the building. Operation costs are just, the wells are just not worth putting that amount of money into. So we have been looking for alternate sources. Fishkill Plains would require an addition of a well, which they need anyway, with or without Revere Park connecting. And another option would be connecting to the Cannon water supply, which I think ultimately would be the best course. But we're still a couple years out, I think, from getting Cannon turned on and Fishkill Plains, and we could have Revere Park hooked up, late fall. So I think that's the course we should take. So we will do the map plan report that kind of spell out the different improvements that are required to connect both to Fishkill Plains and to the Cannon property. And when we go to Fishkill Plains, the improvement will be limited to really benefiting Revere Park as well as Fishkill Plains. And if we were to connect to the Cannon, ultimately we could branch out to Worley Homes and Tina Lane and, other areas along the way to help, pay for that additional cost of putting the main in. So Board of Health is adamant that we take action, and I think the best action would be to drill the 3rd well at Fishkill Plains.
Okay. Have you spoke with New York State DEC on the application that we have?
We're in the process of putting that application together, yes.
Because we have approval by the New York State Revolving Fund to fund this project.
It's to make improvements to help Revere Park.
Yeah.
One of those improvements would be to drill an additional well. It was estimated at the time, about 2 years ago, that it would go into Fishkill Plains, and now we just have to follow up with that.
Okay. Very good. So the resolution for us tonight is to authorize a map plan report for the Revere Park District, so that way we can start accessing the funds to make this connection. So do I have a motion to authorize the Town Engineers Department to create a map plan report for the Revere Park Water District?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Yeah.
This type of loan is a low-interest loan. Do we have an idea how many years the loan is going to be going on for? 1. And 2, will the loan be paid only by the people that are going to be using that well?
It's paid by the people in the district, yes. It's about a 2%, I believe the rate is something like 2%, it's subsidized.
It's basically 2/3 of the going rate at the time you close the loan.
Yeah.
And you can get various terms. We typically do 30 years. And as far as, the 3rd well is going to benefit existing users in Fishkill Plains, Breadview 2, and Revere Park. So it really will be apportioned across all those customers.
And one of the advantages of this type of funding, we actually did this with the water tank in Little Switzerland. At that time, the interest rates are a little bit higher, but it's automatic that the state will, if the interest rates drop, the state will actually recalculate your loan and lower your interest rates. With that one, about 5 years ago, I got a letter from New York State saying they dropped the interest rate. So it is something that New York State does. And it's a pretty good program.
And just in case it wasn't clear, I believe it's a 1/3 reduction on the interest rate, so you pay 2/3 or whatever the going rate would be.
Yes, exactly. Okay, Councilman?
Yes, thank you.
All righty, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of authorizing the map plan report for the Revere Park Water District, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Resolution number 8 is to adopt a negative declaration and authorize construction of a well at Fishkill Plains Water that will pay out of the capital funds. Speaking of Fishkill Plains wells, whereas the town created the Fishkill Plains Water District and purchased the Dogwood Knolls water system, and now it is necessary to conduct a second well in an existing, well, actually, would this be the third well, or is this a second well?
No, it's actually one and the same. These are the third well.
This is the third well. It is necessary to construct a third well in the existing well field in order to improve the availability of water to the residents, provide a secondary water source or redundancy, as you engineers like to say. If it is the desire of the town board, we do have the funds. They exist within that district to pay the cost of the well, which has been estimated at approximately $125,000. Now, actually, I think that was from the capital money that we borrowed.
We could use the money from there and then replenish it once
we have that money in the bank. Right. Basically, we borrowed that money originally, I think, to put the filtration system in, and as part of our water metering money
that was
also.
previously set aside for that Fishkill Plains District.
So the town board has a negative declaration before them that will ask to accept with respect to work activities to be the installation of the additional well. And town supervisor, town engineer be hereby authorized to construct an additional well at the Fishkill Plains Water District. This project is declared to be an emergency by this board as much as it is imperative that secondary well be placed in line prior to the summer season. And Scott, if you just talk a little bit about that. Board of Health does have some concerns out of Fishkill Plains with the amount of water we're pumping out there in peak season.
That is correct. When we bought Fishkill Plains, there were 2 existing wells. The records that we had said they were both rated at about 300 gallons per minute, 296 and I think 400. We've been operating those wells now for a couple of years. We're actually getting 125 and 140 out of those wells, so substantially less than what they were originally estimated at. With both wells running, we just barely meet our maximum demands in peak months during the hot year. If one well goes down, in the middle of the summer, we have a big problem. So,
yes.
And that Revere and Fishkill kind of intertwined in that respect. Looking at Revere actually really brought to light the issues that we had at Fishkill Plains.
Fishkill Plains, yeah.
And the remedy is to add this third well. That will give us redundancy.
But this is why we're considering this an emergency situation, because
if we lose a well right now, we have
a big problem.
Right.
And also, the Department of Health has also the same concern that with our peak season, we might not be able to meet our peak rates.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I might add, there's even projects in the pipeline that can't get Board of Health approval right now because of the water situation. So.
Okay. All right. And the resolution also describes that the controller be and hereby is authorized to appropriate a sum of $125,000 from the existing capital funds within that district for the purpose of the installation of this redundant well.
It's actually the third well. Third. Correct that. The third
Can I
well.
do the motion thing first?
Sure.
Okay. Do I have a motion to authorize the drilling of this well using those capital funds?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Now, it's not really just $125,000 to drill one well, is it? This includes more than just a well?
The breakdown that we have is the well itself at prevailing wage would probably be in the $40,000 range. Then you have the development of the well. You have the screen, the stainless steel screen that goes in. You have the pump tests that's associated with it, the report in the application to the DEC to actually put it online. So when you add it all up with all the wire and the pump going in, your grand sum is on that order.
I just like that because most people that dig a well at their house, it costs them $5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
I don't want to think the town's paying $125,000 for the
Supervisor
same
had
well.
that same question earlier.
I really thought I'd go out there with a backhoe and dig it a lot cheaper
But just so
than
I might
that.
add, though, this well, they start with a 42-inch steel casing, 42-inch diameter steel casing with a bucket truck and auger down. So it's not your typical, just 8-inch well. It's
I just
42
want the
inches
people out
wide.
there to know that.
Backfilled with stone, they pull the casing out, so it's pretty elaborate as well.
It says approximately, so can we put in the resolution not to exceed a certain number?
I don't think it's going to exceed that.
So then you wouldn't mind if we put not to?
125, so if it goes to he has to come back to you, you can't go.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So you
Any
don't
other
have to put
questions?
that.
Any discussion on the well? Okay, all those in favor of authorizing the well to be drilled or dug or whatever they do with this well?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. All righty, moving on. Council meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, we didn't discuss this, it wasn't on the agenda, but it is June, and in January, we contracted a new contractor for Channel 22, and if I recall correctly, we were going to
Revisit, I forgot, you're
his
right.
contract.
Yes, what had happened was we had entertained, actually, our Channel 22 technician, we'd actually interviewed last year, and we decided to make a change, and we made a change this year. I know when he came, when we talked price, we had a little bit of a discrepancy, and I wasn't sure what we should pay him, and he had a number and I had a number. There's a $5,000 difference. And I said to him, I said, well, why don't we, you're right, I said, why do we don't do this the first 6 months? Let's see how it goes, we'll reevaluate it in 6 months, and you're absolutely correct, this is the June meeting, I'd forgotten all about that. And I know we've been, working together right along. I think Channel 22 is going well, so we'd be increasing his pay. I can't really remember off the top of my head. I remember we typically run around $30,000, $35,000 for Channel 22 with the taping, the editing, all that stuff that goes along with it. Good point, good point. What is your thoughts, what's the board's thoughts on Channel 22?
Well, I think Mr. Minor's been a tremendous asset to the town of East Fishkill. We've had a lot of positive feedback, not only from the show that Councilman D'Alessandro and I have been doing, but also there's more programming on there, and a lot of the board meetings and the zoning board meetings and the planning board meetings are on immediately, the very next day, which I think is a benefit to the community. So I'm all in favor of extending Mr. Minor.
Yeah, I would agree. He's very professional. He does a very nice job, and I think we gave him his 6-month
Kind of a 6-month probation period, I
probation,
guess.
yeah, and he definitely passed.
Okay.
What is it we're
Councilman
discussing
Marinello?
now? Are we discussing the salary, or?
Yeah, in January, we
Annual
hired
salary.
him, and we only gave him 6 months for he wanted 35,000, I think.
I think something like that.
But we said we'll only
Yeah,
pay
I
him
said we'll start at
30,000.
30.
And we said we'll decide it again in January, in June.
It's a yearly contract.
I don't recall this going back, and I thought that we settled on that salary, which was a
No,
little...
it's in the minutes, I remember, everybody voted on it.
Was it? Yeah. I remember that, now that you mention it. Councilman Cassidy, any thoughts?
I think he's doing a fine job. And we debated something, but I thought we were giving him 6-month trial basis.
Okay. Mark, if we were to increase the salary to the $5,000, would that be, I think when we talk about Channel 22, it's typically around $30,000, $36,000 a year for all the activities, the filming and the editing and all the broadcasts.
Yeah, I would say over the last 3 years, it's run between 30 and 36,000.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mark. When you say 36,000, is it salary, or is it, what is
It's a
it?
combination over the past 3 years of salary and subcontracting expenses. With Mr. Minor, he's a subcontractor, so he's not an employee of the town, so that's the fixed ceiling cost. There's
Yeah, that
no
was the savings there.
benefits or taxes associated with that.
And I know if he's not available, he has somebody there, but it's no charge to us. He has his people work there, and we don't get billed for, whereas, had we been an employee and we had to have somebody else fill in, we'd have to pay him. So, I do think it's worked well.
Is it possible to hold off on this until we have the next discussion meeting? I mean, we need to look into the numbers. I mean, I have nothing against, but again,
I mean, that's fine if you like to, but we did pass a resolution stating that we would revisit this in 6 months. I don't know why it wasn't on the agenda, but...
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
It's Carol's fault.
Totally forgot.
Carol,
about
it's
that.
your fault, Carol.
I mean, it's only a couple of weeks. So
Well, no, we're not going to have
discussion.
any workshops scheduled for July and August. We just have voting meetings. The next voting meeting is when? July 24th and then the 28th. We had scheduled no workshops for the summer.
The other gentleman that we had before, his salary was $24,000.
Well, it was an hourly rate, so he wasn't paid a salary. He was paid based on the number of hours he worked. And then there were other,
Well, if you pay him a salary, then you also have benefits, retirement, right? I believe.
yes.
If you look at the 20, what was it, 28?
No, 24, I remember.
24.
And,
We had budgeted, I think, 24, but as I said, he worked an hourly amount, so I think the amount came out to be, it would have been higher than that. It was a little tricky because we were doing partially subcontracting and partially employee.
Yeah, he wasn't doing the whole thing. He was doing editing. Editing was done by a contractor.
There was editing done by a contractor.
Yeah, he was doing the filming.
And he was doing the filming, right?
Yeah,
So
whereas
it's-
now we're
and
gonna
the
be
additional
doing-
cost besides whatever we paid him was $12,000?
It was in that, it
Well,
was
the
the total
12,000
between the two.
Well, let's just, if I may, if you have an employee, yes, you pay them $10 an hour, but they also have benefits, which is going to be another $5 an hour.
Yeah, but Mark is saying that the additional cost was editing and additional,
Yeah, the total of all the personnel, employee costs plus subcontracting costs were within the 30 to 36,000 range over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't precisely the same number. Right now, we're contracted for 30,000. As a non-employee, there's no additional fringe benefits or anything like
Right,
that.
because when you pay an employee, what do you have to pay on top of that? FICA?
FICA, workers' comp, unemployment insurance,
There's benefits included?
not as a part-time
Okay, no
employee,
benefits.
no health
Okay.
insurance,
So if we-
possible pension costs.
So if we approve that 5,000, we're not spending more than we did last year?
You're not spending more than you did last year. It would be more than what's in the budget today, but it would be in line with the past 2 or 3
And
years.
if we would wait to vote on it, would he get retroactive back?
It's up to you. We could
That's up
certainly
to
do
us.
a retroactive, I mean, we could,
Well, if we wait to vote on it, if we want to wait till July to vote on it, I would say it'd be retroactive, but only retroactive till June, which would have been the 6-month part.
Okay, well, then I put a
Would that be
resolution
okay?
forward to continue the contract with Mike Minor for $35,000.
Oh, okay.
what-
Why not? I can't put a resolution forward?
Sure.
Oh,
It's a general meeting of the town board, all 5 members are present, we can vote on everything they want. That's, if it's available before the meeting, you have to put it out as reasonably as practical, but it doesn't require you to put out everything in the board.
Councilman Marinaro realized it wasn't on the agenda. I'm sorry, Councilman D'Alessandro.
They're all present at the meeting, so he has the right to vote or not vote, or just, oh. There's no rule that prevents a councilman from making a motion in a meeting.
I mean, the only reason I would hold this until next month is to clarify certain things that are not clear right now. I mean, we're talking about salaried employee, and the person now, it's a contracted employee.
Right.
And the cost factor, we're talking about the same thing. I mean, all these issues have to be brought to the open. I mean,
I would just correct you, we weren't talking about a salaried employee, we were talking about an hourly employee, which the difference is that they are paid, their pay, plus they're paid.
whether it's hourly or weekly, it's still a salary. It goes under the same umbrella.
But they're paid umbrella, yeah, they're a paid employee. So, okay. I have
okay,
no
well,
problem.
I'll
Whatever's
wait
the
then,
board's
I'll wait till
pleasure.
next month, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying
no
what's fair
problem
is
with that.
fair.
Can we get, Mark, over the next month, can we get all the numbers that Channel 22 cost us for the last 2 years?
Sure.
and then versus this year? Because I don't think it's any different.
Yeah, give us 3 years or
And
whatever. yeah.
realistically, we're talking 2.5, if you're going to go by the year, you're talking $2,500 over the next 6 months, $2,500 more.
Right, exactly.
You're talking $400 a month.
Yeah. If the board wishes to go that way, then what I would do, Councilman D'Alessandro, I would say we'd make it retroactive till the June.
Start July
date,
1st.
which I had originally said that would have been the date within 6 months.
No, I will be happy
That's
with
okay.
that.
All right, so
July 1st.
I don't know if we need a resolution for this. Would you like to make a resolution to that? To say we would revisit it next month, and if it is approved, or we just want to let it go, we'll just
put it on the
Just put it on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll just wait for then the next meeting.
Okay, very good, so we'll do that.
Mark, will get us the
Thank you very much for reminding me about that.
Thanks, Mark.
All righty, next item under budget transfers, it says yes, but it should be no, because we have a computer glitch with Munis, so we could generate our budget transfers, but everything is covered. Next item on the agenda is public comment on town issues. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on general town issues? Yes.
As far as Channel 22, it's very informative and very important to the people of the town, and I enjoy it very much.
Thank you, Marty. I get a lot of good feedback, too.
I want to ask you a question about the wells on Robinson Lane in Plains area.
Yeah, Fishkill
They were
Plains.
capped years ago.
Oh, the ones out there in Robinson Lane?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were actually, a lot of wells were drilled out there, Robinson Lane. I think IBM was actually looking at that property for a well field years and years ago, and then they were just capped.
Right.
Yeah, and I know the property owner has been wanting to do something with that. I think we have a little issue with a building out there that he's supposed to demolish, as a matter of fact, but they're still out.
Can't they be utilized for our town in some way?
I don't know if he'd be interested in negotiating with the town to find for well fields, but I do believe that aquifer is the same one that we're tapping into right across the street in our Fishkill Plains well field. I think it's all the same aquifer.
Same one.
So. Okay. Okay, thank you, Marty.
Good evening. I'd like to start with an observation that I notice the majority of the board up there has such a scowl on their face whenever somebody questions anything they do. Perhaps you should be a little more lighthearted about things. You're on TV after all.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Just a scowl that comes across the faces up there when any questions are asked that aren't in line with...
I think that would be your perception, not mine.
Well, I said it's an observation, so yes, that's my perception. You're on TV after all. Smile a little. Last month's town board meeting, I was up here questioning what grants were applied for Hillside Lake in any aspect, remediation or improvement, correcting the stormwater situation. I sent you an email, as well as I sent it to Gina, reminding you that you had mentioned you were unprepared at the time.
You sent me an email, I probably didn't get it.
Oh, you got it. I got a return receipt that you opened it.
Yeah, it must
you
be
got
in
it.
my outbox or
Yeah.
something. I don't typically, you sent such scathing emails in the past. I'm never interested in really reading your emails.
Yes, that's very good. Yeah, an elected official. Yeah, you're really serving the public well doing that.
Well, you get what you ask for. I mean, I believe in communication with people should be principled and should be above board, and I found that some of your emails were rather difficult. So,
2
but I'm
years
glad
ago?
you're here to talk
3
about
years
it tonight.
ago?
Excuse me?
2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Oh, I don't know when.
Okay, you know when. So,
I think
anyway, I'm prepared with the information
When
here
did the
anyway.
email? When was the email sent?
The email was sent on Monday,
Okay.
and it went to your secretary as well, so.
Okay.
And I also got a receipt that it was opened by you, so maybe you just opened it and put
No,
it
I
in your
didn't
junk
open it.
mail or
I
something.
don't open your
but-
emails.
Okay. The internet's lying to me, but that's besides
No, I
the
don't
point.
lie to
Anyway,
you. It's a little
back
thing
to
about
the
communication.
question at hand.
That, it's a funny
is,
thing with people
I was
with
here and I
emails.
asked about the grants for
People-
Hillside Lake.
People with emails
and you were not
feel
prepared
that
to
they
answer.
should just automatically be open.
want the stage right
And
now?
I would
I
like
thought
to
I was
just
up at the
state that
podium.
communication should be open and there should be, I think communication is two-way. So when you just send me emails, I'd much rather discuss it with you here, so.
We've been down this road, yeah.
We have?
Yeah, we've
Okay.
been down this road about discussing with you. You don't want to go down that road with me again, because it's embarrassing to you.
Not to me.
Back to the topic at hand, I'll remind you of what happened as I was up here last month and I asked you about any pending grants that were out there for Hillside Lake that had been applied for.
Yep.
Your response when I was questioning those things was that if you knew someone was going to ask these questions, you would have had a list in front of you to give a definite answer.
Yes.
Hence why I sent you an email on Monday letting you know I would be here asking the same questions because I did not receive answers.
Right.
I had noticed a list was posted on the 24th of pending grants throughout the town. I'd like to go down them with you. The main question on there that's not answered is when these were applied for and the grantor's proposed date of when they will be awarded. And if you don't have that list, I have a copy here for you.
Oh, no, I have many lists. I have many grants, as a matter of fact, because I do recall the conversation from our last meeting. I don't know if this is actually a complete list. Obviously, I know when people ask, I can't say when they're going to be opened. I'm not in any control of that. It's very not unusual for this state or the federal government to delay their opening of the grant, so that is out of my control. It would have been approximately about a year ago now that Superstorm Sandy had happened, and Congress decided they were going to set aside a whole lot of funds for many different grants, hazard mitigation grants among them. So we were actually contacted by New York State, as I recall. They were given a date of July 5th. We had to have these in. It was actually quite short because I believe it was like in mid-June we actually received the email from New York State. So I did go with the assistant engineer. I believe we went up to a college over across the river in Archer County, and we sat down with people from Congressman Maloney's office. We made applications, and if my memory serves me correct, the applications were for Carroll Road Bridge, a dam up on Long Hill. I know the Hillside Lake Dam, obviously. I'm not sure if we had the stormwater in that one. And there's like 3 or 4 or 5 grants at the...
According to this...
Excuse me, just let me finish my story just so that you can understand this. So the junior engineer and I completed that task as we were told. Actually, I came back to the office, spoke with Jonathan Razor, who was doing our hazard mitigation grant at the time. He actually asked me to submit another grant. July 5th came and went. New York State, in their infinite wisdom, decided now they were going to extend the deadline. I forget what the deadline was extended to. It was extended for like a couple months. At that time, we put in grant for Hillside Lake. I think we had done the stormwater, the July 5th round, and I think we started putting more grants for other projects. But we've always, whenever a grant opportunity came around, we always tried to put in grants for Hillside Lake. Then over the summer, we were discussing some issues with Hillside Lake, which really, and I know that this may seem far-fetched, sewer and water may actually go a long way towards solving any issues with the lake. So there was an announcement said that the governor was looking to do capital projects, water, sewer, capital projects. So we made an application through Congressman Maloney's office, through our former grant writer, Victor Cornelius, for those, and I think we did water, sewer, and again, we put in the stormwater grant for Hillside Lake. I think a total of $26 million. When they're going to be awarded, it's a moving target because the state keeps moving the dates that they're going to award it. And that's basically it, but we do try to get Hillside Lake grants in pretty much anytime there's a grant round. We did put in 3 or 4 grants under GIGP, which is Green Innovation Grant Program, for Hillside Lake specifically for the stormwater project, and unfortunately every one of those was denied.
Okay, so you do not have dates, the initial dates that the grants were intended to be awarded. I know they pushed them out, they never meet those dates, but what were the initial dates?
No, I don't have the initial dates.
Okay. And Victor, these were prepared by, on this list that was put on the town's website on the 24th, these were prepared by, as you stated last time, town employees of the town. Victor Cornelius is no longer under contract.
No, he's no longer under contract. We still have some grants out under his sponsorship, may I say, or his shepherding. A lot of these grants were done in-house.
So yes. The grants that are out that were under his sponsorship is when he had that 3-month paid contract. with the town of East
Well,
Fishkill?
we've had Victor, we had him, I think it was a year, and then we had him another 3 months after that.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to submit to Ms. Hooray a foil for the copies of all those pending grant applications. On another note, I'm sorry if I'm boring you, Marty. I know you're tired of hearing about Hillside Lake, and you're entitled to be tired of hearing about it, but ask yourself why we keep asking these questions. At this time, I think everybody on the town board has been on the board long enough to be familiar with what's going on in Hillside Lake, past, present, and future. So I'm curious, Mr. Hickman, with all due respect, you always answer the questions that I ask, and I rarely hear from any of the other council members. So if I may, I'd like the opinion of the other council members for a simple question of, in their opinion, why is it there are continual, sometimes redundant concerns, comments, and questions pertaining to Hillside Lake brought to this podium over the past several years? And with all due respect, I'd like you to go last. I'd like to hear from the council members, if that's okay. And we can go by order of roll call or seniority, which is about the same thing. Peter, if you'd like to...
Repeat the question.
In your opinion, okay? I'm not holding you to this. This is your opinion. And you've seen the most out of Hillside Lake questions coming up here. So I would expect you know it very well.
Could I just make a point of order? I mean, you've asked me about freedom of information laws, everything else. The town board conducts its meetings under Robert's Rules of Order. The item on the agenda is public comments on town agendas. I don't think that that necessitates you being allowed to ask a particular question to the town board unless they choose to answer it.
The item on the agenda is
Public comments on general town issues. That doesn't...
I think unless the town board asks you to comment, I think that you're out of order, Mr. Wood.
I would disagree with that. We always look to our attorney to chime in when he feels necessary. Sometimes we don't recognize the need to have an attorney make a comment.
I'd also like to speak as a resident of the town. In speaking of...
Well, you can turn to the podium.
Oh, I will. I'll get up
Please do. So while I have this simple question, you're all elected officials. We rely on you for this information. So you asked me to ask you what the question was, and I'll repeat it. Why is it that there, in your opinion, why is it that there are continual and sometimes redundant concerns, comments, and questions pertaining to Hillside Lake brought to this podium over the past several years?
We've been discussing Hillside Lake for probably 18 to 20 years that I know of. And a lot of the things, I think the town has spent a lot of taxpayers' money, not just Hillside Lake money, on applying for grants, doing this, doing that. It's a private district. So realistically, the bill's got to come back to them. We spent a lot of studies on doing this, doing that out there. We had public meetings over in the schools, brought it to votes. The people in the lake in a private district have got to decide to spend their own money on a lot of it. We can't take general money from the guy that lives in Lomela and spend it on repairing something that he can't use. And then when it comes up to a vote, are you willing to spend an extra $2,500 a year per household? It goes down. And I'd love to see the federal money come in here and give it to us. I honest to God would. I mean, when you look at some of the projects that go nationwide and you wonder why, I'd love to see the lake fixed. I'd love to see a lot of stuff done there. But you can't take town money and spend it on private property, it's the only thing. And I think we spent a lot of money and the engineers have busted their butt. John's busted his butt. Tom's busted his butt. Everybody has. And I don't know what the answer is. We brought in the government, the engineer corps there, the Army Corps of Engineers, and a lot of them have looked at it. We had a chance, a developer was willing to put water and sewer in that lake 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. It's in the master plan, actually.
And it went to a vote in the Hillside Lake, I believe, and they voted it down because they didn't want to pay for theirs. They thought somebody else should pay. You know, it's just, it's a shame. It really is.
It definitely is.
And a lot of the stuff, some of the advisory board doesn't work with us. It works against us. And some of the emails, and I've seen some of them too, you attack, you attack, you attack. And it's not just you, it's the other people. I was attacked here at a board meeting one day. And you can run the tape on that if you can find it. But you got to work together. It's give and take.
If I may tack on, being you added that in there, I'd like to ask you, why do you use the word attack? I wouldn't use the word attack.
What he
why do
said,
you
I was
think-
attacked.
Whatever word you want to use, why do you think someone would be so aggravated to send something?
Because they want things done. You guys want something done.
And the bottom line is, you
We
mentioned it
can't
yourself,
do it.
18 to 20 years.
And a lot of it can't be done unless your guys are willing to cough up a lot of money too.
Okay. Now, the part that you left out there is that for 21 years now, the Hillside Lake Park District property owners have been paying a tax for the repair, remediation of Hillside Lake.
The monies they spend, and you'd have to go back through the comptrollers, the only money we can take is out of your tax that's collected, Hillside Lake
There's
assessment
a separate
fee,
tax
or-
levy for Hillside Lake Park District.
That's for water, that's for your lighting,
No, there's a separate Park District tax.
that's for the expenses that are in the park district, isn't it correct, Mark?
There's separate light,
Well, Mark,
there's fire.
just
Let Mark
explain
let Mark just answer that.
What is budgeted?
Right, there is a tax applied to the residents of Hillside Lake to pay for the maintenance of the Hillside Lake Park District. Generally, that's considered mowing, maintenance of the dam, things like that. I know there has been money spent on engineering studies intended for improvements to the lake.
Is that,
Yeah.
there is a separate tax now, we're clear on that. A separate tax for the maintenance,
That was set up by the Hillside Lake Park District when they turned it over to the
and
town.
it became a park district, yes. And
Correct.
that's what it says, that tax is for the repair and remediation and maintenance of the Hillside Lake Park District, common areas, and the lake. If you look at the lake today, you'll see there was no remediation.
I would just have to ask
Maintenance.
the controller, in the budget, when the Hillside Lake Board sends their budget to the town, because we approve the budgets for special park districts, have they put in for the lake? I mean, it's in there for mowing, for clearing the dam, the spillway, and that stuff.
I don't recall any
I would have to
request.
refer you to the initial engineering study.
I'm just asking
Excuse me?
about the budget.
I would have to refer you to the initial engineering study that made very specific for reparations and continued maintenance. That would be the response to your question, Mr.
I'm just asking if, as Ms. Wallers has stated, that there's money taken out of everybody's taxed. My question is, when the Hillside Lake Park District's budget is approved, I don't believe there's any money specifically in the lake for that. In the past, there have been funds used towards the studies and the...
In my time here, there's
engineering.
been no money requested for remediation.
Right. And I can speak to that. If you go back again to the original
I would just like to
engineering
clarify
reports,
that.
the original engineering reports that were done, and you have them posted online, the original engineering reports that were done prior to the town accepting Hillside Lake as a park district, special park district, they looked into what expenses were required. The dam needed repair, the lake needed some work, and all of that. All of that was budgeted, and that is how the tax levy was calculated.
The tax levy's changed every year.
All I would say is
Yeah.
the budget is submitted every year, the taxes every year they're levied are based upon the budget submitted.
Well, why should we pay now that you, when I say you, I'm saying the town of East Fishkill, so I know you take things personally. I'm not saying John Hickman let the
taking
lake
anything
do
personally.
happen, but now that the lake is in its poor condition because it was not maintained, why would the residents now have to pay the abundance of $3 million, which is the last proposed remediation estimate, because the lake is in such poor condition because you did not meet you did not follow the requirements that were originally set up, neglected.
Are you speaking to me now? I mean, I could respond.
I'm speaking to the board.
Well, one thing, I would like to make a couple comments, if I may, Scott. Obviously, we're talking about a lake that was created back in probably the 1930s. The dam was built. I don't know who designed the lake.
We all know the history.
Excuse me,
We've been over
sir.
it.
Excuse me, sir, if you would let me continue. The lake was built back in the 1930s. We don't know who designed the lake. They built a dam. I guess there was a spring there. The lake really was, I don't know what kind of a lifespan it was supposed to have. I don't think it was ever really a very deep lake. And my concern when I'm talking to some of the people that live at Hillside Lake, then I think back in the 50s and 60s, there was an earthen dam that was constructed to separate the swimming area from the other. So I'm not sure if that had any impact on the flow of the lake. And I just bring this up because when you talk about the lake being in such poor condition, I don't know if creation of a separate dam, damming up the water to create the swimming area would have created, would have hurt the lake at all. But in my mind, this was a lake that was created, man-made lake created, not by the town, and we only took it over in 1991 under a petition from the Homeowners Association. So I just wanted to clarify that. We didn't design the lake, we didn't build the lake, we didn't build the second dam. So I just wanted to make that clear. And I do think that that second dam would have something to do with stopping the water flow. Excuse me, Bob?
You're skirting the issue.
Hold on a second. Look. In addition to you mentioned the lake was not designed to take on whatever. The lake was definitely not designed to take on all the stormwater that's been directed in there.
When was the stormwater installed in the lake?
You tell me.
You're the one that's speaking? I have no idea. You're a resident
You work for the
there.
town. You're the public servant. Tell me.
How would I know? I was not around when those pipes were put in.
Okay.
I suspect you must know more about these stormwater pipes than I.
It seems like I do.
It seems like you do.
It's pretty sad. Moving on, anyway. Nick, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, you don't have to repeat anything. I agree with Councilman Cassidy that it's a shame the lake has gotten to this point. Unfortunately, it comes down to money. That's why we keep applying for the grants and keep applying for the grants and keep applying for the grants. And just like you, I want the grants to come in. Okay? When I first got elected, I went to the engineer right away and started asking questions about Hillside Lake. Why? What has to be done? Have we offered anything? He showed me that a few years back they offered 3 solutions. You had some big meeting at the high school. Nothing was ever voted on that. How come nobody voted on that meeting? That was always a question in my mind. How come the residents...
Who was supposed to vote on it?
The residents of Hillside Lake. There were 3 proposals.
There wasn't a vote put out. There was no voting venue set up.
Okay. Well, there were 3 proposals there. Nothing came about that. Councilman Cassidy's correct. You can't take money from the general fund to pay for a special park district.
Nobody's asking for anybody to take money from the general fund to pay for the lake. However, we want you to take money from the general fund to pay for the stormwater remediation.
And that was another question I had. I'm not an engineer. I'm far from. Mr. DeMasso took me around and I had many questions. He showed me many things. I had not a clue what he looks at, what I was looking at. He explained to me what I was looking at. Who decides what percentage somebody is in error of? The town's in error for stormwater. Who's to decide that?
Mr. Hickman decided the town will take care of the stormwater remediation. And that was at that Van Wyck meeting, and I believe it was 2010. That's when it was pointed out that within the $3 million that was budgeted for remediation of the lake included the stormwater remediation. So that had to be separated out.
I would disagree with that assessment. I would say that at a meeting, which was really the ugliest meeting I've probably ever attended in my life, that Councilwoman Walker and I listened, and one woman came up and said, well, your stormwater has had an impact on our lake. And I said, well, I think the woman has a good point there, and we should look into that. And that's really how I left it. Nothing about a $3 million or any other studies. It was that little, and I responded to a woman.
The original estimate at that meeting was a $3 million proposed remediation to the lake. What I was saying is that within that $3 million, it included the stormwater remediation, which needed to be separated out.
There were 3 different proposals that were presented at that meeting.
So then I guess my question is, you're saying that the town should pay this $3 million to remediate the lake, right?
No, I'm not. I'm saying basically what my question here is to clarify, because certain people come up here and make comments about they're tired of hearing about Hillside Lake. I believe there's comment made that people ask you in the grocery store about Hillside Lake and why they hear about it.
I don't go to grocery stores that often.
Well, wherever you are, you said it at the last meeting, something to that effect. And I want to clarify, why do people come up here and ask for the same thing over and over? Because something is wrong and something is not being addressed.
Well, then, the only way to address it is to fix it, and that costs money, right?
Absolutely.
And if the townwide has to pay for it, then I suggest I'll put a resolution now that we should put it as a referendum in November for the people of East Fishkill to vote if they want to spend the money to fix the lake.
If you want to do that, that's fine.
If the people of East Fishkill want to pay for it, it's their money. Then so be it.
If you would like to put that in there, go for it. However, when we talk about stormwater, that is solely on East Fishkill. That's not a Hillside Lake property owner's
Yeah, but at
problem.
what point does it?
It's
That was
their
another
problem,
thing
but it's
I
not
don't.
theirs,
That's
boss.
another thing I don't understand with the MS4. Now, at what point is the town responsible? Is it back 30 years ago? We're responsible for what happened 30, 40, 50 years ago?
No.
So then, from what point on?
Doesn't mean you don't do anything now.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying, but this doesn't just happen for 5 years. The lake didn't turn out like this because of the last 5 years since MS4 has been implemented by New York State.
You guys are not doing anything about it.
No, we are applying, he's applying for grants.
It's gonna get worse and worse.
We've been applying for grants, multiple grants, as Mr. Wallers knows. Scott's been out.
No, actually, I remember back a few years ago, I did write a request to the residents of Hillside Lake. I mean, we did look at, I had a person actually who works on our ponds, MD Pond. He does the work with the weeds at the pond there. And I said to him, what can we do with Hillside Lake? And you know, I know you say we've done nothing. I've met with DC 3 times since I've been here, large groups of DC people, engineers. It's a complicated situation. I know you don't want to hear that. So I had this fellow who does our weeds at MD Pond. I said, what can we do for Hillside Lake? He said, that's way above what I do, but I have a gentleman I work with from New Jersey, and he does work on lakes like that. We had him in, it must have been 2010. We had a meeting, Councilman Koch was there, I remember Mads was there, I think Jack Schmidt was there, a couple other people were there, and we talked about it, and you know, he has barges. What he's going to do, he's going to go out, he's going to do some cleaning in the lake. And we did talk about possibly doing a pilot program, taking $20,000 that was in the Hillside Lake Fund, and we would apply that and do this part of the lake and see if we could clean up this part of the lake. But I know the public wasn't in favor of that, which I thought...
That's where
yeah.
our communication broke down.
Yeah,
Right?
I thought that would have been a good test.
But we didn't communicate over it, and that's exactly where our communication broke down, right then and there.
Okay.
Because
I thought that would have been a good test, but I know that nobody was in favor of it. So, you know, that went by the wayside. We had the very unfortunate public hearing there at the school, although a lot, oh, I know, you were on that side. I was on this side, you know what I mean? But, you know, so,
the public seems to get that impression, exactly what you just said, that it was, in fact, Councilman Franco had said to me, oh, I hear that it was a terrible meeting. I don't think that it was a terrible meeting. I think it was a great discovery meeting.
you may have looked at it that way. I don't think that really anybody in the audience...
You discovered that East Fishkill had a problem with stormwater, so it wasn't a great discovery meeting.
That was a point, and I would grant you that. That was the point that I came away with. I had hoped to hear more feedback on the 3 proposals that we had presented there. But that didn't happen. But moving on, I mean, obviously, when we saw at that meeting that we weren't going to be able to get consensus on A, B, or C, which one of these, then I said, you know, we need to start looking for grants, which we did start looking for grants. We've been looking for grants. And basically, but, you know, what Councilman D'Alessandro and Councilman Cassidy say, you know, it's a privately owned lake. It's always been a privately owned lake. Turned over to the town in 1991 by a petition from the Homeowners Association. But, no, but just let me finish. Now, if the property owners would like to, I mean, we could do a bond, we could do a $3 million bond, and we could clean the lake. There's no problem with that. We could do that.
The can just keeps on digging.
Hold on.
Keith, hold on.
But we could,
Hold on.
and we could address our storm,
I'm not.
okay. But we could do that, but I see that the people in Hillside Lake probably can't afford that kind of a burden, so we're looking for grants. And that's where I leave it.
But I think what you're telling me is the town of East Fishkill does not want to afford doing anything with the stormwater until there is a stormwater grant. That's what they're telling us.
No, we have been looking at the stormwater, and I know that doesn't do anything for you, and I know nothing happens quick enough. But we've looked at that situation also.
John, Mr. Hickman, one thing that's happening here is you're taking us off of the target here. You're talking about remediating the lake, okay? We can't fix the lake until we fix the pollutants that are going into it.
Yes.
It would be a waste of money. We've been over and over and over this many times. What needs to be done is the stormwater remediation. That is what needs to be done. 3 years now, you've been trying to obtain a grant for stormwater remediation, and we haven't received the grant. And I was up here last month telling you exactly the same thing. So how many years, as the terminology that Keith used, are we going to keep kicking the can down the road and say we can't get a grant, we can't get a grant? When are you going to step up and fix the problem that the town created? Then we can focus on repairing the lake.
How do you know the town created the problem?
I didn't put direct the stormwater into the lake.
Did the town build the road? Did the town build the lake?
The town paved the roads, yes. The town built the
lake.
stormwater in.
The town built the lake and put the drainage in?
I didn't say the town built the lake. I didn't say the town built the lake.
But, and if I may,
Okay,
and
but
going back to,
they didn't
we don't
build
know who put these pipes in. When these pipes were put in, the
I've
roads...
witnessed pipes going in the past 3 years.
The town built the stormwater system.
Replacement
The scars
pipes-
are still in the road.
Replacement pipes or new pipes?
Both.
Okay.
We've witnessed numerous
Directly into
storm
the lake.
catch basins going in and new pipes connecting those storm basins.
Directly into the lake?
Yes.
No, pipes
No.
directly into the lake.
They are connected
I mean,
to pipes that are going directly into
Oh,
the
they're
lake.
connected to pipes that are going
Right,
directly.
it's adding to the
Okay.
stormwater conveyance
Okay.
into the lake. Right.
Do they have sumps in these catch
So to bring us
basins?
back,
Yeah.
we're talking stormwater here that you're trying to get grants for.
But
And
no,
we keep
no, no,
pushing it
we're-
out year after year after year. I understand it says on here you're trying to get grants to fix the lake and that's all, but you can't fix the lake. We know, we've been through this logically.
Absolutely.
You can't clean out the lake and make it crystal clear and then still put stormwater and salt and everything in there in abundance. The lake wasn't designed that way.
Right.
So we have to fix the first problem.
Mike, may I interrupt?
If I just have to respond to that, though, and I know one of our disagreements is you say that our stormwater is the pollutant in the lake, and I don't know if that's to be the case. Our stormwater is very possibly impacting the lake to a certain percent, absolutely, but I just wonder about the septics and all that other.
You can read Stephen Gruber's report. It says it right in there.
We've had Stephen Gruber and I have had discussions about this, and I don't necessarily agree with Mr. Gruber. But I would just like to
You
say...
just said you're not an engineer, so let's
If you would allow
clarify
me
that.
to, okay.
Stephen Gruber is.
You know, we can just, I know who Stephen Gruber is. He used to be our engineer.
I didn't ask you that, yeah. I said he is an engineer.
Yes.
You are not. You just clarified before you're not an engineer.
No, I'm not.
So you don't agree with Stephen Gruber's engineering report on what's polluting the lake?
What I'm going to
ludicrous.
say, if you'll allow me to say it, is that I've said in the past, and this is a very complicated issue. I know with the lake, I know with the amount of houses around the lake, the size of the properties, the age of the septics, all due respect to Stephen Gruber, I think that the septics may be a contributor to the lake.
Name
I will
one.
leave it at that.
Prove it.
Name one.
Oh, no, I can't.
You've done tests.
Proven failed septic system, not one.
Well, why even use that?
Okay.
Why even use that analogy, John, or may, or, the engineer is saying one thing, you're saying you believe different. Why go there and use that?
Kind of
What
like,
does that accomplish now?
because in my mind, Bob, and
In
it's
your mind.
if I may continue, and this is where I agree with Mr. Wallace. You don't want to put a lot of money into the lake and still have the contributor to the lake.
If I may interrupt, just to clarify something to Mr. D'Alessandro. As far as the town is concerned with, I'm not going to say liability, but the concern of the town and the water stormwater, drainage, we have approved developments around the lake. The town has given approval to some new developments as far as 10 years ago. And there is water that is deviated into the lake. Now, these people, is this property private or is this property public? If it is private, I think we should have asked their permission if we could dump this water into their property. That's where we, as a board, should come in and accept certain responsibility. We didn't create the problem. They said the problem has been created for 30, 40 years. Okay? There is 450 family living over there. Are we still going to close our eyes? Kids living in the community? I know it's a sewer, it's an eyesore. But if that community was in a different town, in a different part of the town, I think something should have been done. Should we spend all this money all at once? No. But we have to start somewhere, Mr. D'Alessandro. I mean, just saying that the rest of the town should not pay for it, but at the same time, we are using their infrastructure to dump developments that have come up 10 years ago. Well, where is our responsibility to that?
That caused the demise.
So either we say that we are not responsible, but at one point, somebody signed off on these projects. They didn't come up by themselves. And I think, I know we don't want to deal with this. And a lot of people before us didn't want to deal with it. But I think, as public official, we have to sit at a table with this community and start having a serious conversation how to solve this problem.
And taking our responsibility for past actions.
I had a conversation with Mr. DeMasso, and him and I, he was very good at giving me information. I spoke with him about having a study done, saying what would the percentages be for the town's portion that we're responsible for and the portion that we're not responsible for. And I don't know who would do this type of study, but look into it. And if then it comes back saying the town's 50% responsible and Hillside Lake is 50% responsible, then that's how it will go down. If it's $3 million, then we pay 1.5 and 1.5. Oh, excuse me.
Said in years.
That's what?
I said that that's the first constructive thing that's been said in years. Why now? Approach. What? An approach. Yeah. Why only now is the, somebody starting to see the light? The other town board...
Well, just like Mr. Hickman said, it's a very complicated issue. It's very hard to get your hands around. Keith tried to explain many times to me.
But you simplified it.
Well, but that's not simple either. Who's going to pay for the study? And Keith and I discussed that too. So it's not just the simple of okay, let's decide it.
And nobody...
meeting, please.
And nobody...
Marty does have a good point there. Yes,
Moving on,
Yes,
you're patiently waiting to answer my question.
Yes, there is one thing I would like to focus on, something that I talked to Keith about, something I talked to Bob about, and I believe you as well. And it's evident here tonight, and that's the communication. Bob, we've talked about it, I've talked about it with all of you. The communication. We have to be able to sit down and talk, because right now it seems very acidic. And I understand, I shouldn't say understand because I've explained to you before, I appreciate your frustration. But certainly none of us up here want to get bombarded as well. It's not like nothing has been attempted. Certainly not the way you want it.
We've been fighting this fight for a long time.
Yes, I understand.
We want to pull the reins back now, and we want to keep it going.
Tom, what you're not aware of is the past promises, okay? And that's what makes people irate. When they're told, this is going to get done, we're going to do this, we'll do that, we're looking into this, and then that's pulled away, or it's not happening, or we're going to get a grant, we're going to fix that stormwater. 3 years later, we're still trying to get a grant. Why do we have to wait for a grant?
Well, like they were saying, it's a lot of money.
So are many other things that come up on these agendas.
You're the head of the Recreation Advisory Board, and you and I have had this conversation, I also have it written in. And we have even suggested the possibility of dissolving the park district and bringing it under, I don't know if it's the correct word, the auspices of the recreation, the townwide recreation. I mean, at the last workshop meeting, Nick, there was talk about lime kiln facility and only $62,000, only $62,000. Okay, $62,000 was 1/16 of $1 million, because that was the budget that you guys talked about at the time. Okay, so $62,000 over 10 years for Hillside Lake is $620,000. We're almost there, aren't we?
Almost, I guess, but not quite.
Yeah, but only $62,000, I find that a little abrasive when we see year in and year out what's going on in my neighborhood.
I understand, and I understand your frustration, but just like the people that utilize that lime kiln facility, you have your arguments why you want your stormwater clean, and they have their arguments why they want to use the lime kiln facility. You can't say they're wrong, can you? I'm just saying, I'm just saying, everybody has their own feelings.
I bought lime kiln facility, you're talking about putting up...
And you could use it, and you could use it.
It's on the other side of town from me, I'll never go there.
Okay, but nobody's going to go to Hillside Lake and utilize that. It's a private park district.
I can even sell my house. If you make this, the industrial park and the arena that is being proposed, don't you think that everybody that owns a home in Hillside Lake wants their home to be marketable when the time frame comes also? Not with that lake.
I'm sure, but you're telling me that homes haven't been sold in Hillside Lake? You're telling me that there haven't been homes sold in Hillside Lake?
I can't attest to that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Hillside Lake would like for their homes to be as marketable as any other home, proportionately speaking, within East Fishkill.
Understood.
Especially being you're basing our taxes off of other homes in East Fishkill, not you personally. I'm sorry, we interrupted your...
No, that was it.
That was
My whole focus has been when I was knocking on doors and when I said, you know, the main thing I wanted to do was we have to communicate better, and it's pretty evident.
There were several forms of communication opened up. When I first got involved in this, when I first realized there was even a Hillside Lake Board, it was kind of kept under wraps that a Hillside Lake Board existed. I won't go too far into that, but my goal was to create communication between the Hillside Lake Board and the community and the town. Okay, that was done via a Hillside Lake Board email address was set up. Mr. Hickman, you were given this email address and asked to please send all correspondence to us there. It's still active today. Any email that goes to hillsidelakeboard@gmail.com gets distributed automatically to all the members of the Hillside Lake Board. Okay, there was also a blog set up where anybody can go on and speak about it. People went on there and posted questions. I asked Mr. Hickman to go on there and please answer the questions. He said he didn't want to sign up because you had to make a password or something. I set up an account for him.
That's when you had the closed website that you had to sign into.
I set up an account for him and a password. I said, here you go, you come on anonymously, speak your mind, whatever. It didn't happen. Forms of communication have been set up. Unfortunately, I'll use the term the town does not use them towards us. We use the communication to contact the town, but we don't get communication back. Period. In the past, there has always been, except last year, there's always been a liaison to the Hillside Lake Board. It was Ethel Walker for many years. I don't know if I've ever seen any correspondence from Ethel Walker in the years I've been involved. So it was a one-way street. We were trying to communicate. You can say, from what we heard earlier, that some people take things a little personally. Other people get very frustrated when they're made promises and told things are going to happen and they don't happen, and communication breaks down. So as you can see now, we have a town supervisor that can't even accept an email from a town resident who pays taxes. And I will emphasize again, he is a public servant to me. I pay his salary.
Servant, sir. I would qualify. I'm a public servant for the town of East Fishkill, and I can take a lot of emails. But the remarks in your emails, I decided that I did not need to be subjected to that kind of rhetoric. So.
And that was going back at least 2 years ago.
I don't remember. I remember when I sent you the FOIL. Do you remember the FOIL request that I handed to you about minutes of your meetings, which I never got a response to? That was a long time ago. And then you got me. Oh, that didn't qualify, Keith?
No, absolutely.
Okay. Anyway, no, we have had not good communication in
And I
quite a while.
responded to you on FOIL request, did I not?
Excuse me?
Did I not respond to you on FOIL request?
Yes, you did.
Yes,
I forget what the cost to respond to that
Right.
FOIL was going to be quite large.
Yes.
It was going to be large, it was going to be a large expense,
Yes, because I value my
$250,000,
time.
I think. And I would say that in the past, actually, we had decent communications. Keith would stop in, Mads would stop in. And unfortunately, as you point out, Keith, that there was a point where everything just collapsed, and that's unfortunate.
And that's about when you stopped communicating with us. That's when it collapsed. Because we hit a brick wall.
I'm not sure when that was, but I know Keith and I used to talk a lot about it. That's the way it is. Okay.
Communication stopped, John. I'm going to say it the way it is. It stopped because you wanted to turn your head the other way. And nothing was getting done. People were frustrated, and that's why communication.
I wished I did turn my head the other way, but there's a lot of people in Hillside Lake that I have relatives and friends in Hillside Lake, and we are still trying, and I know you won't believe that.
And by not answering Mike, you're hurting me.
Okay.
You're hurting all the other residents because he's on the advisory board and he's trying to communicate. So when you want to punish him, you're
not punishing.
punishing everybody. Yeah, you are.
I'm working at the best I can.
Why don't you recognize that? By you not answering him who's on the advisory board, you are hurting the community. And, just deal with it. Or get over it or whatever, and he's on the advisory board. And we need to go forward.
We would like to go forward. I would,
You're not going to go forward if you don't answer him.
thank you.
Manny, I think you spoke to it already. If you wanted to add anything to my question.
Well, look, what I want to say is that you guys are part of East Fishkill. You guys are taxpayers. This problem has been going on for too long. There's been neglect, and the board needs to face the facts. I've been the liaison on Hillside Lake. It's a big challenge. We've done a lot of work in a few months. I got in touch with a lot of politicians to see if we could find the money. I've been praying that this money will be coming. We spoke to Mr. Molinaro, Senator Terry Gibson, Assemblyman Kieran Liller, and Congressman Maloney. These are the people that could bring some money to our community. I sat with them more than once. I keep on calling them, talking to them. I brought some members of the advisory board to sit on the table. We sat and have discussion with the town supervisor, town engineer, the town lawyer. I think more discussion needs to be done, but I think that the board needs to realize that we cannot treat this district as if it doesn't belong in East in East Fishkill. We have a responsibility, and as I said to Mr. D'Alessandro, maybe he wasn't aware of that. Some people sign off on certain documents that opened up these projects, that build these 50, 100 homes and deviated the water in the lake. Now, if we say that the lake is private property, by whose authority we have to dump this rainwater on this private property? And if we have done it, and if it's been through negligence, then I'm not saying we got to cough up $3 million all at once. But at the same time, I think we should start somewhere. And I think that these people over here, they're not unreasonable. Let's figure this out. A house right now in Hillside Lake, it's of a certain value. But if this lake could be brought back somehow, I think that the value of the property is going to increase. And so are the taxes paid to the East Fishkill community. So we are going to have something back in the long run. It's an investment. We do a lot of investment in our community. And this could be another one of them. Not only we are restoring something that we part damaged, but at the same time, we could restore some value to the real estate of the town. So,
Manny, this is a lot of what's being said that the public is unaware of. If they are, the public is unaware of a lot of the facts that the Hillside Lake residents that are involved with this, they're unaware of it. We have people that get annoyed with us, hearing too much, and all of that. If they knew all that went on, and some of it is being explained now, that kind of attitude wouldn't exist. And when I hear, oh, somebody wants to know who's that guy talking, we're talking because we want to get someplace. I think that maybe, you know, Nick and Tom and Peter, maybe, I don't know if you do have any new kind of feelings about the lake, if knowing that some of the demises been, you know, by water entering there, stormwater. And John, I gotta ask you, you know, I got a little faith in, I don't have to say Manny because Manny's trying to work with us. I got some faith in Tom, I got some faith in Peter, I got some faith in Nick. I'm losing faith in you because,
it's communications, Bob.
no, it's John.
No, it really is.
Go there with communication.
Before we get there, take the mic. Thank you all for your comments.
All right, thanks. It's not about communication. You just don't want to seem to accept what I think these other people are starting to get. So let me ask you this. Let's start some communication. Can we start, you know, first somebody's got to accept responsibility. Otherwise, there's not anything to speak about. If you don't want to accept do you accept responsibility?
Well, I told you that years ago about the stormwater.
All right, okay. So having said that, what can we do about it? Let me just say this. You forget about grants or anything else. I spoke to Tom and I used an example. So long as you're willing to accept responsibility, it's like me damaging your vehicle. And I turn around and say to you, John, when my friend pays me or when I get a grant, I'll fix your vehicle. That's not the way it works. I got an obligation to make you whole again. And you got an obligation to work on making us whole again. I don't think anybody wants to demand that the lake, you know, you move a wand and it gets fixed tomorrow. But up until tonight, I haven't really had any hope of anything progressing in any good direction. So if we're going to communicate, the first way is you accept responsibility, and you know that the water's going into the lake, damaging the lake. What are we going to do about it? When do you want to have a discussion with whoever, you know, and let us know what you want to do? Because my feeling, and I don't know about the rest of the advisory board or anybody, but I feel like you just don't care. You don't, even if you say you care, and even if I want to believe you do, you're not doing anything about it. So long as you're going to say you're responsible, then act responsible and start to do something.
Bob, can I answer that? Can I just say something? The supervisor, I know he cares. I know you feel otherwise. I know you feel otherwise. But I'm just telling you.
I want to believe that he cares.
And what's it going to take to fix it, like we've said, is money, right? Money. Wait a second. So what has he done? He's tried, or as the board has tried, to do the grants like we've said. Why? Because then if not, we have to raise taxes.
Nick, what do I do?
I'm sure the Councilman Marinaro, we know we have to raise taxes to fix this lake, right? How else can we do it without grants?
Nick,
if I may,
what do
Bob,
I do? What do I tell you, Nick?
Bob.
I can't fix your car? Because until my friend pays me, until I get a grant to fix it, if I'm responsible
Bob,
for... Yes.
if I may respond.
Right.
Okay. I know you don't know what I do during the day. I work my tail off, and part of the reason I do is for Hillside Lake. I do work hard for Hillside Lake. And I do take exception, Manny, to you saying that I don't care about this community or that's this community.
I didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that, John. You keep attacking Manny, and I'm going to defend him.
No. But Manny says somebody think that this community should be in another area. I don't. I like Hillside Lake, I
John,
know Hillside Lake.
So why don't we move forward?
I'm
No,
sorry,
go on,
you know,
Jim.
I think John, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You always put me down.
Yes,
Okay,
you
I
do.
think,
But you said
excuse
that
me,
that
excuse
people
me,
look at
John.
this community should be
Far
supported.
far from my thought, the fact that I would accuse you of not caring.
Okay.
I never said a thing. Now again, you put words in my mouth. We are in a public forum over here, and
No,
you're
no, no,
accusing
no.
me of saying something about you.
You didn't.
Out of this whole,
But I may have taken it wrong.
I did?
But you said that some people on this board think that this community should be in another area or something.
I
And
said,
don't think
may I
anything
repeat
bad
again,
about-
John?
don't think
I said that
anything
if
bad about
this
the
community was in a different part of town, okay, maybe it would have received a different treatment. I didn't say anything about Mr. Hickman not caring about the community, John.
Okay. And maybe I took it wrong.
Well, but you're always putting, you know, you always make me feel like I'm
Fifth
you
wheel,
know, I'm
a
sorry,
fifth
John. I
wheel.
think this kind of treatment of one type of candidate, of a member on the board should really stop, because it's been going on for quite a few months. The attacks, the personal attacks have been going on for quite a few months. It's just what you're doing now. You're saying that I accused you of not
I really
caring,
took it
John.
that you
I'm
said
sorry.
that I felt that this community should be in
I'm
another
sorry.
area.
It's very uncalled for. I apologize, John.
Oh, well-
I will not. It's
Okay.
very uncalled for.
Councilman Marinaro.
I'm sorry.
Councilman Marinaro, it is my apology if I misunderstood how you were portraying and how I took
I would
it.
never.
I apologize to you.
Thank you.
I will just...
Hey, John.
Just let me finish, Bob, if I may. I care about the Hillside Lake community. I continue to try to do things for the Hillside Lake community. Obviously, the grants, whatever. If they come, they come. They don't, they don't. We will, I think we've discussed putting in deep sump catch basins all around the lake. We talked about putting together the bid. We're actually going to put them in a bid, but because of the time of the last bid went out. So that is something we're looking at doing. If fixing the silt, the stormwater, but if I may say, water in the lake is not, in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's the silt that goes
All right.
in with the lake.
Hey, John.
No, just let me just say that. So you do have discharges into the lake. And if we can stop the siltation and remediate whatever siltation is in there, that is ours. That will
All right.
be our fixing
So-
your fender.
So can we go
That will
forward?
fi- That would fix
Can we
your
go
fender.
forward with this?
That would fix your fender.
Huh?
That would fix your fender.
If what?
In your car. If I hit your car, that would fix your fender. If we are to fix the stormwater around the lake and remediate what is in there, that is our stormwater.
See, John, that's why I don't
No.
have a lot of faith in you.
Why, no, I just-
You want to get technical, and listen, the oils and everything else
Yeah.
that goes into the lake, you still sound to me
No.
like you don't want to accept responsibility for damage to the lake. And if you do want to accept responsibility, then let's move forward.
Okay.
Let's move forward.
And so the amount of, okay. So in my mind, it was just siltation, road sand, all that stuff.
Well, let me-
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'd like to pick up on it. I'd like to pick up on exactly that note, okay? And, yeah, the siltation that's directed into the lake, but I have to say also, the pollution, the pollutants, that being salt and the oils that Bob just mentioned, and cumulatively, that has, I'll say, contributed to killing off the lake. And when you had that kill off and the sedimentation and the rise in the, I'll say, the floor of the lake with all the sedimentation, and year in and year out of the foliage and the vegetation as it dies off, that contributes to additional sedimentation also. I don't know if you want to call that our responsibility.
Yeah, it's an open question, yeah.
Okay, but the point being is when you made it, when it became a dead lake, okay, that facilitated the ongoing growth of the vegetation dying off and additional sedimentation. So on that note, what I would like to bring into a legal aspect, and that being the April meeting with DEC, and subsequently a letter to the town that was directed to you, Mr. Supervisor, and the entire town board. And the town board was handed that letter at the May 8th workshop meeting by Councilman Marinaro. And in that letter, it specifically stated, I could read the whole thing as 3 paragraphs, but if you want to shorten it up, I see you keep looking at the clock.
No, it doesn't matter to me. However you speak,
Okay.
as long as you would like.
But anyway, it was a letter from New York State DEC, Department of Water, dated April 28, 2014, and it makes reference to the April 4th, 2014 inspection. And to speed it up for you, the last paragraph says, please submit to the department's attention an assessment and remediation plan for the MS4 outfalls discharging to Hillside Lake by June 1st. If I may, question is, has that assessment been submitted to New York State DEC by the town?
I don't know if the assessment is done. We have gotten an estimate to back clean all of those outfalls into the lake just last week, I think.
We did make a response to,
Yeah.
in
You did
response to that
respond
letter,
to 'em,
we
yeah.
made a response, and then we did get an email about 2 weeks ago from a new person at D saying that our response was not adequate, that they wanted, in fact, more detail. We then endeavored to start getting prices for those actual outfalls, which we got some prices last week. And now, you know, the devil's in the details. We're trying to gain access to do the work, and I know as of right now we have one homeowner that won't let us do work to facilitate cleaning the pipe. So, I mean, it's a complicated matter, and we don't really want to give a response back to DC until we get our arms around all these homeowners that we're going to impact by going in and cleaning these culverts out. You know, they're going through private properties, et cetera. We still have to do potentially a title search on some of these properties to find out if easements exist. So, to answer your question, and that's that we have not responded, but we are endeavoring to respond. We're trying to get all the facts together.
May I ask who that DEC contact was?
I believe the new one is Natalie.
Natalie Brown?
I believe so.
Okay. So I know of at least 4 outfalls off the top of my head that are large contributors of siltation into Hillside Lake. And if we can't, I believe there's 8 altogether, and if we can't get to 8, but we can get to 4, can we do 4?
We may potentially do that, but we started out looking at all 8, and we run into some bumps now, and we'll have to evaluate depending on how we make out the homeowners, whether or not we are going to split it up and just do a portion, or if we're going to be able to do them all. So,
Okay.
and that's ongoing right now. That's
Now,
right in the middle of that.
In your assessment, I presume that there was an assessment regarding these outfalls. Is it your intention to make any progress into cleaning the sedimentation that flowed beyond the shoreline from these outfalls?
Not as part of this action.
Okay, but you do realize that is part of the directive to do so. I'll read it. It goes on to say the assessment and remediation plan must include a schedule for the removal of sediment deposition at outfalls and plan for the maintenance of the stormwater collection system. That is the directive.
We had asked that question to the sea, are they intending that we dredge the lake or anything of that nature? And they said no. They're not looking for that, so maybe they just need to...
I don't know. I don't know if you want to split hairs on this or dissect it every which way. I mean, I don't even want to read between the lines. It says the assessment and remediation plan.
We have an email train with DEC that if it's not on the website, we'll put it on the website. So
Yeah. I'm sorry, repeat, please.
we have the email correspondence between us and DEC, and if it's not on the website already, we'll place it on the website.
Yeah,
I
I
go back and forth. I mean, all the information is there.
Okay. And I saw the response from the town to this letter, and I was a little taken aback by some of it, to be honest with you. And it said that the town had completed the cleaning of 119 catch basins prior to the April 4th inspection, and obviously what they are addressing is what the town missed with their prior cleanup. And I have to presume that it has been missed over many years. And I think this was actually...
When we clean some of those pipes, we'll probably know exactly how long.
Excuse me?
I said when we endeavor to clean some of those outfalls, we'll know exactly maybe how long it's been. There may be an outfall there that hasn't been touched in 30 years. That's what we're going to have to get our arms around.
Well, that actually touches on one of the points that I wanted to make. It says that the lake level has risen, and you and I had this conversation, but I'd like to explore it and let me speak and then you can
What was my
respond.
response to you, sir?
You told me that the lake level
I said, I'm
had
not going to
risen.
argue with it. I'm going to take you out there and show you because you failed to
Yes, sir, and we can do that very soon now.
To you, so
Okay,
rather
as you
than
know,
do it
I had
now,
a personal
we'll
issue.
go on a little ride. I think it's
Okay,
pretty black and white.
but that dam will not let that lake rise between 309 and
But the
310
lake was
feet.
lower than that dam.
Excuse me?
The lake was lower than that dam for several years.
But it never got above 309 to 310
I didn't say that it
feet
did. I said it
where
was
the
lower
design
than
of
it
those
is now.
outfalls
I
were.
said it's lower than it is now. Yeah. We'll have to take that ride so you can see with your own eyes exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, thank you.
So, can we move forward, John?
Sure, Bob.
And how do you propose that we can do that?
We are, and we've been discussing this situation, as the engineer has mentioned. We've talked about putting out a bid. I thought we would have it out in the last bid that went out last week, but we didn't get that prepared in time to access funds to put in deep basins around the lake. We are going to have the outfalls cleaned.
Well, John, that's...
And then we will take a look at the portion of the lake that may be impacted by our sediment.
Okay, all right, because that is to prevent any further damage.
And we'll take a look at remediating whatever sediment is in there. I know that we all disagree on what killed the lake. We do. I know, you all say it was the outfalls, and, we contributed to it. I know that my thoughts on the septics in the lake area, the fact that it is a low lake, a shallow lake, so...
John, let me comment on the septic.
Sure.
If somebody's septic is going into the lake, it's still secondary to the fact that the town has an obligation to fix what's there.
Oh, absolutely.
Then we'll go after whoever's septic is failing. So to use the excuse that,
No, I'm just saying that's another contributor. We will definitely take, I'm just saying that in my mind is another contributor, but we will attempt.
I'm not going to deny or agree with that, but all I'm saying is that is irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the point at hand. The point at hand is that if you correct...
We will correct our stormwater issue.
And then whoever's septic is going in there, that will be addressed to them, or the town will address it, right? So why even keep mentioning about septic going in there? I don't get it.
We will address the stormwater issue.
Can we do it in a nice manner? Or, like even now when you're talking, there's condescending. I don't
No, I'm not
get it.
condescending, Bob. I'm sorry you take it that way. I don't mean to be condescending to anybody. Understand that it's a very busy place, and there's
See,
no
all
excuse.
the answers you give,
Bob, there's no excuse there.
they all don't mean anything.
I don't mean to be, what I'm saying, Bob,
John,
I don't mind to
just
be...
accept it, and come on, and let's go forward with it, all right?
Bob, I don't mean to be condescending to you.
No,
I will
but it's
tell you-
nonsense what you're talking about, all the other stuff.
We will go ahead, we will put together a plan to remediate this stormwater.
And what do you want to do? You want to be like technical, or you want to, is that what you're looking to do, like you said before, at the end of the day?
I'm sorry, what's that?
All right, John,
No, repeat it.
Forget about that.
I didn't catch
Let me just address a few other things
Sure.
that have been bothering me, because I watched the planning board meeting, I watched the workshop meetings, okay? And again, I got a tendency to fend for the underdog, okay? Now, I watched you with Manny at the workshop meeting, and you said to him, he's got a matter or with his property or whatever, and you asked him, that he should disclose that, and your reason for asking him, and let me just say something. I haven't had any discussion with Manny. I hope Manny's not annoyed that I'm bringing this up. This is all my own doing. Your point to that was that you didn't want the planning board to feel under any pressure. He's a resident. He's got property.
Oh, absolutely.
He's taking care of his business. So why would you even inject anything like that at that workshop meeting for the people to see? And this is where I feel that you keep attacking Manny. Well, then explain to me.
Can I explain it to you, Bob?
Absolutely.
The only reason I said that is because the town board appoints the planning board members. Every year we appoint 1 or 2 planning board members, and that's why. That was all.
The town board...
We appoint those members of the planning board.
I'm sorry, John. Say it again.
Those people that sit up here at the planning board, we appoint them.
What, so what?
Well, because I wouldn't want anybody on the planning board having town board members sitting there.
Why not?
Huh?
Why not?
I just think that disclosure would have been appropriate, so that everyone would know, okay, he's here.
Why would that be necessary? Your response that night was that you didn't want the planning board to be under any pressure.
Absolutely.
Well, then why didn't you take it up with the planning board? What are you addressing Manny for? Take it up with the planning board. You just want to keep attacking this man. That's what you do. Because you have every business to take that sentence up with the planning board and not him. And now I'm going to go a step further. You donated money to a very, very good cause, right? The town did, to Julia's gym, which I think is great, and don't mistake. Am I right or wrong? No. Did the town donate money to that?
No.
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 There was a grant solicited from Dutchess County for Julia's gym.
And I thought it was backed up.
We received a grant from Dutchess County, but that's a grant from Dutchess County to the town of East Fishkill to build it.
So then correct me if I'm wrong. So, and the town didn't put any money into Julia's gym?
No, we applied for a grant on their behalf. If we get the money, we will use it because Julie's Jungle will become a town property in the future.
Okay.
Right now, it is a private group that's a tax exempt that's organizing and doing their own fundraising.
Have you disclosed that your wife is involved with Julia's Jungle or Julia's gym?
She was involved with Julie's Jungle months ago.
Have you disclosed that to anybody?
He said that more than once at a town board meeting.
Yeah. I don't recall if I actually disclosed that, to be honest with you.
Okay,
she
so
left.
you understand, it's really insignificant. You know what I mean?
Well,
And so-
could I just stop you right there?
Yeah,
Mr. Marinaro is a public official.
I understand.
As a public official, there are certain disclosure standards. And he can have property in the town, but when you're a public official on a town board and you have a project before one of the boards, disclosure is required. And the reason for that is you have to then have certain standards that the town attorney, town engineer, the planner, everyone else involved in a review process is then aware of that. The public's aware of it. And it's in some...
is that like a law or something?
It's in the ethical standards. And the way it then works is that I would not, as the town attorney, speak to him about his project. I would deal through his professionals, and he has very competent professionals, and he would not speak to the planner, everything, because he votes on our appointment, etc.
Yes.
So there is a requirement for disclosure.
I understand.
Okay, that's seeking approval. Julie's Jungle
go ahead.
is a not-for-profit that was established by a group of community members, of which the supervisor's wife is a part.
Right.
They are going to donate equipment and funds to the town, and the town has agreed to utilize those funds together with a grant that the CDBG fund in Dutchess County has awarded, because Julie's Jungle is for handicapped children.
I know that.
And it's going to be placed on town property. So is the town involved? Yeah, it's going to be on town property. But Julie's Jungle Committee, the not-for-profit, is contributing funds. They're not approving it. They're not anything like that. It's much different than when you have, if it's just like a planning board member.
I get it.
I've recused myself as town attorney. The town has hired outside counsel.
I get it, but what I seen that night was he was just sitting in the audience.
If you watch the planning board meetings in the past, some members of the planning board get up and leave the room when a project not involving them personally, but involving a firm that they've worked with before, things like that, and they announce, I'm recusing myself, I'm stepping out.
I can appreciate that, but all I'm saying is that night, he just sat there in the audience, didn't say anything. I just feel like the point of the matter is, no matter what I watch, I feel like he's being attacked. And on that note, I'm going to say, because I said it to Tom and I said it to Nick, you got the spotlight on the town. It's a great idea. I just think that it's out of order that he wasn't asked to be on it. I don't care whose idea it was. They said, Nick said it was his idea, it was both of their ideas. I find it a little hard to believe that they clicked in both heads at the same time. And so long as...
No, it didn't. It was my idea, and I asked Tom.
Okay, well,
There you go.
I was told by John that it was both your ideas.
Okay, well, maybe it was presented to him by both of us,
All right,
but...
and so it was your idea.
So I don't understand that you keep harping on this spotlight on East Fishkill. You know, this is a benefit for the businesses of East Fishkill. I feel a little insulted that you keep bringing up this issue. Councilman Marinaro and I have discussed many times how we have to help our local businesses. Him and I discuss this all the time. Okay, but you keep going on this tangent about the spotlight on East Fishkill.
You're not letting me make my point.
Your point is that you brought it up twice, and I feel insulted.
That's what I think it is.
Well, I'm just telling you how I think.
And let me tell you why. Because if you had a good idea, it should have been shared with all of them.
Why is that?
Why?
Yeah, why is
Because
that?
you're getting all kinds of exposure.
What exposure? I take time out of my own family and my own business.
And when you do that, those people are in your pocket.
Councilman Cassidy and Councilman Marinaro, do you feel slighted that you don't do the show? I mean,
why are
really?
you asking him? I'm speaking to you. Why are you asking him?
Because I want to see if they feel offended.
No. I'm telling you as a resident.
Are you them? I'm asking them if they feel offended.
I'm telling you that Peter should have been asked and Manny should have been asked if you had a good idea, because every time I turn on 22, and listen, I'm making a point. Don't take it personal. I see you and Tom. No. Don't take it personal. It's the wrong thing to do. That's why I say don't take it personal. I see you and Tom over and over
to do the best thing for the businesses?
Huh?
To do the best thing for the businesses.
You want to know something? By rights, I think both of you guys should recuse yourself from doing that. Should be an outsider doing it. It should be an outsider doing it, or let Manny and Peter have a
The
little
only
interest.
show I want to be on is the next one next month.
Very good.
When I see Nick and Tom racing on the treadmills.
I get it. If you choose not to, that's fine, but I think Manny deserves the
That's
same
why I
exposure.
asked them both if they feel offended that they're not on the show.
treadmills,
This
Manny, you
should
can
have
get
been
on
done in
too.
the beginning. and
Well,
you know
why
what?
is that? You're the only person that thinks that.
I'm going to tell you why.
Just please.
I'm going to tell you why, because Bill Danke and Ethel Walker and John Hickman all sat like 3 peas in a pod for years, and I don't want the same thing to happen here.
I don't care what they did. This is our board
This is the
now.
only guy that ran along and has something to say.
This is our board now. We work very well together.
Bob, if you would, that's all right. Let's just wrap up.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Okay, I asked
Second.
you about, it seemed like whatever I asked you, I asked,
Oh, you want to talk?
what do you want to know? Do you want?
Yeah, Bob, let's wrap up.
I waited quite a while.
Bob.
Okay, so what?
Bob,
You wait, I gotta.
please, Bob, let's just wrap up.
Hey, John, I'm gonna wrap it up. I asked you about ordinance or whatever for garbage pails, that people don't want to put their garbage pails to the end of the road. You gave me a big song and a dance. When I watched the planning board meeting, there's issues about where the businesses got to place the dumpster and all of that. What's the big deal to make an ordinance for people to put their garbage pails back to the house? You got noise ordinance, you got wood burning ordinance, you got all kinds of ordinance. Don't litter, you got on TV, don't litter. You know, all that. What's the matter with making an ordinance to make the place better for those people that don't want to do it? That's why you got the other rules, right? So can you work on something like that, John?
I don't support that, but if the board does...
You don't support the
No,
garbage pail? So it's okay it's okay that you go into development and all the garbage pails are in your face, right? You live like that, I don't live like that.
It's a little more complicated than that when you create a law. It has to be...
more complicated than the noise issue and the litter and everything else.
I know, and that was very complicated. I know it didn't look it, but it was very complicated.
But you achieved something, right? And for those people that choose not to do it, we got to be subjected to that.
Okay.
That's where you come in and you should look after us. And I'll address the rest of the issues at the next meeting.
Good evening. My name's Bob Angeletti. I was watching the meeting before and heard that you approved another high-capacity well in Fishkill Plains area. Well, my concern is that as the town forms these water districts and everything all over the place, these high-capacity wells are going to lower the aquifer for those of us who don't have town water. And at present time, there's 2 roads and 5 houses on the west side of the power lines over in the Lake Walton Road area that don't have town water. We were supposed to have it because 12 years ago, and then I'll be brief with this, 12 years ago, the former town board, when they had a meeting at Van Wyck, said that they were going to bring the town water down Queen Anne Lane to pick up Brettview. My neighbors and myself went over there, said we wanted to be part of the project. I live on Barnes Drive and also those on DeGasbury Lane. They said, fine, make up a petition and submit it to the town board. We have a grant for all this. We'll get it all done. It was going to be $300 a family, and then the cost of the water as you used it. What happened was, as soon as they connected to Brettview and the T was in the road, they placed the T in the road at the end of Barnes Drive. As soon as they connected to Brettview, everything got packed up, they went away. I went to the town board and said, what happened? They said, we ran out of grant money. If you guys want it, we'll estimate the cost at $1,000 a family on your taxes for 20 years and the cost of water, which most of the people said, really? And occasionally I brought the subject up to the town board. I brought the subject up to Manny when he called my house when he was running for election. I brought the subject up to Tom when he came to my door when he was running for election. I brought the subject up to Nick and Peter also. I brought it up to you.
Yeah.
I received a call last year from an assistant engineer with East Fishkill doing a survey to see where they could consolidate areas into town water areas. Since then, I haven't heard anything else. My concern is that at some point, these 2 roads and 5 houses are going to have the aquifer drained around them, lowered enough to where we all have to go deeper with wells or kind of bring in trucks to give us water. And that's my concern for the future, and I want to bring that to the board's attention that maybe we can do something about this.
You know, there's only so much water in there. We recognize that fact. I don't know if you were still, what were the roads, DeGasbury and?
DeGasbury and Barnes Drive, and then there's 5 houses on Brown Road that are not connected to the Brettview Fishkill Plains water system.
Okay.
And they're the only ones on the west side of the wetlands, and I believe there's another water district just down from us on Lake Walton Road. And so we're the only ones without it.
I mean, if you were interested, I mean, obviously we look at it, extending districts when necessary. Obviously, if you were out of water, you know, something very cognizant of, believe me, about the aquifer. I understand we have wells across the street. We have those wells there. They were the big producers. I know that that's always been a concern of mine too. I don't think that bringing on another well of this magnitude, and we can actually ask one of our hydraulic scientists.
Well, they do that. We put piezometers, we test local wells as
Because you test, when you do the 72-hour pump test, you do tests of all the surrounding wells to see if the effect on the aquifer. So it's part of the 72-hour pump test.
Right now, I have a 250-foot pounded well, which is serving, there's only me and my wife home at the time. But I've measured the water level in that anywhere from 85 feet from the top when it's peak all the way down to not much above the pump. And we conserve water. We've lived like this for 35 years. But I'm concerned between ground pollutants and, you know, everybody else sucking water out of the ground, that there's going to be nothing left for the people with just the little wells.
Yeah.
And
well, we do
it's
take
a concern
that
of mine.
Account, yeah, and DEC looks at that. I believe we do our 72-hour
Well, if you
pump
want to
test.
drop us a letter or a line, I'll look into it. As we get inquiries, we basically do like a survey in that immediate area.
Right.
See
Well,
whether-
I know your assistant,
John.
John, yes.
Yeah.
And I spoke with him a couple times when he did call, and he said, well, let me see how the data comes in, and, you know, we'll see where it goes from there. And it just, you know, time goes by and you don't hear nothing, and you start to wonder what's going on.
Yeah, just stop in, because I know, sometimes it just reaches a dead end because maybe one person needs, and it's just too far to extend that line, and we give an estimate, and the people go into a different direction. We have had people drill other wells, deeper wells, but we can certainly revisit it.
Right, because I brought this subject up to the planning board when they were considering developing Lake Walton Park, that it was a major concern if they were going to pump water out of that wetland there.
But I will tell you this, in our exploration of water for gravel and rock, you can have a well that's a tremendous well. At this location, you can move 50 feet and not get a drop. So,
Oh, I know that. I have a 900-footer at one corner of my property.
Yeah, so I mean, there could be all kinds of water around you, and yet you're just in a bad spot, so we're not really going to affect you.
Well, that's why I'm
It's just
very much
media that we have.
affected by the availability of water in the ground.
But I mean, if
And
you
there's a shale rock belt that runs through
we can certainly
there.
look at extending as part of our, planning.
Well, actually, I think we've looked at that a few years ago. We took a look at what the cost would be to run it over to Bob's house.
Well, there's a couple different homes here, so I'm not really clear, because we've got a couple.
And
of
I
inquiries,
noticed,
but that's
that-
why
well, I noticed the
say
neighbor up
stop
the
it.
street had Mid-Hudson Pump over at their house, and they were digging stuff up the other day, and it started bringing it back to mind.
Yeah, because like even on Tina Lane, there's have inquiries, and that's why if we can get a line down Tina, it's going to help people, so. Well, that's what we need. We need people to come in and, say they have a problem, we can try to address.
I'm here.
Okay.
And
Just
you all
drop
know
me
my
your
number.
Contact number, I don't want to talk your number on.
Okay.
I
Just
got
drop me a
it.
line, contact information.
I got it, Scott, I'll give it to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, John, I just want to make something clear to this gentleman whose house, that he has a problem with. I just want him to know that I'm very sympathetic about his circumstances. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to start by saying that. The reason that I said that, I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, at one of the meetings, there was a liability issue that came up, and I thought you had said that so long as the town knows, or should know, about a liability, that they were vulnerable. And that's where I had that concern.
Right, but
thought you were
then the
giving-
next step, part of that is, and did the town then take the appropriate steps to resolve it?
Okay.
Okay? Because one of the liabilities that the towns are being saddled with is if a tree falls, even if it's not within the town right-of-way, and hits on the road and injures somebody, the towns can be held responsible unless they've had a program of inspection, and it's been reasonable that it couldn't have been identified, et
All
cetera.
right.
So there's all...
That's why I had that
Right.
concern.
Right.
So I appreciate that.
If I may, I want to make a clarification. The town lawyer is here tonight. So that the community knows, would you elaborate how long is the Health App project been going on, Tom?
It started long before I was started as town attorney, so that was in '06. And it's been off the radar because when an applicant is preparing...
So that project, I would say it's been going on for about 11 years or so. At,
It hasn't been before the board
with all the costs, which we're not going to mention. So it was way before I was elected official. That property was owned by me probably about 20 years. I've been hunting on that property. So that the whole community knows that whether or not I sit on a board meeting has no direct effect. And I want to say to the community that don't put any input, nor talk or communicate with any of the members on that board.
No, but you did call me and attempt to discuss with me the issue about the sign that was on the property.
That was
and I told you-
vandalized when
And I told
an
you at
issue,
that point that I wouldn't continue
when an
the
issue
discussion.
comes up where people take the law in their own hands, I think that's a different issue.
I don't see it that
Where
way.
somebody vandalizes property or trespasses, okay, and brings something in somebody's backyard, and people are driving somebody's driveway, I think we have a responsibility to protect those individuals or any other individual to harass somebody else.
Your phone call to me was, why didn't I, at the public hearing, tell the gentleman who complained about where you placed the sign that property issue had
Well,
been
the
resolved?
gentleman asked
At that
the
point,
question
I indicated to you
that
I
the
did
sign
not think
was
it
put
an
in the wrong
appropriate
place.
discussion to be having.
Tom, the gentleman asked that the sign was put in the wrong place, in his property. And his property is across the street From where,
I've never been out there to the site, I wouldn't know where the sign was.
they had the pictures that night, and my only call was because people were harassing other people in the community. There was no discussion about the project. I just wanted the community to know that I did own this property for a long time, and this property has been on the board agenda for the longest time. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
You told him what you had to tell him in private, instead of making him look bad. You could have schooled him in another manner, but you chose not to do that.
I was surprised that the lady had brought that up at the
I
planning
think
board
someone
meeting.
already called a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I
We have
think
motion to
someone already
adjourn?
did that, yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?